Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind.
No.
Do you girls want to sit down?
No, I'm not. I just need.
Well, I think this will probably sit. Yeah, go for it. You guys don't want to go on. Well, what's the? Yeah, vibes will be. What's funny is I know half the people.
Okay, you guys ready? Yes. You guys ready? All right, I'd like to call this Fernley City Council meeting to order, January 21st, 2026. Hearing devices are available and you can come up front and see Ms. Swanson if you need that. To avoid meeting disruption, please place cell phones in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. All meetings are recorded. When addressing council, please sign in, state your name, and speak, excuse me, clearly into the microphone. Introductory line item 1, we'll lead off with the Pledge of Allegiance and Councilman Mendoza will lead us in that.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Line item 1.2 roll call. Council, Ward 1, Councilman Hannah is present. Ward 2, Councilwoman Zaversky is present. Ward 3, Councilman Lyles present. Ward 4, Councilman Torres is present. And Ward 5, Councilman Mendoza is present. Line item 1.3, public forum. This portion of the meeting devoted to the public. The public may comment on any matter not specifically included on the agenda as an action item. Items not included on the agenda cannot be acted upon other than to place them on a future agenda. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting or raise your hand feature in Zoom, *9 if you're participating via phone. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please avoid repetition. The mayor may, at his discretion, hold comment until the second public forum at the end of the meeting. Public comments submitted prior to 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be provided to City Council and added to the record, but will not be read during a live meeting. Any public input received after 4 p.m. the day of the meeting will be included in the record, but may not reach council members before action is taken. Is there any public input at this time?
Joel Gomez.
Avery Farr.
Elijah Reynolds Jimenez.
Jaden Brewitt.
We are presenting the out of town park.
Do you believe improving the playground at the out-of-town park would benefit our community? We know it will, and here's how.
We have a few changes, and these are the reasons. The reason for fixing the zip line at the playground is that where it slows down in the middle of a ride, kids can fall and get hurt. The broken plastic should be fixed because little kids' fingers can get caught in the cracks. We want to add back the original big red slide because it feels bland at the park playground without it. We are asking that you please consider our ideas and make them happen. We really feel that they would benefit our entire community.
When we surveyed people at the park, we saw that 91.7% of people said that they wanted and desired these changes.
In conclusion, this is how improving the playground at the out-of-town park will benefit our community.
Thank you for listening to us and our ideas on how to improve the out-of-town park.
Thank you.
Tammy Dittman for the record. Pretty much eeny, meeny, miny, moe of what I want to talk about first. So main thing is, I want to thank the code enforcement for being as responsive as they have lately. They got rid of the RV on Chisholm Trail, which was affecting sightline and all that. And they got rid of the gas hauler in my subdivision. I have a question, and Barry's not here. The question is, when is striping going to start on Chisholm Trail? Is the temperature based on air temp or ground temp before you can start striping? The other one is, Fernley, we have a problem, amongst others. So 95A Main Street, when everybody's coming on off the on-ramp or is an off-ramp, whatever it is, I guess it's an off-ramp near the truck stop, it's backing up there now. And people, instead of choosing to wait at the light for 95 and Main, are now going through the residential areas, and they're not going slow. And I just think there either needs to be a turn lane or something done with the lights that will keep people from going through the residential. And I notice it because I'm at a business on Cedar Street, and it really is backing up there now because they're trying to get in before the light changes, so they're ahead of them. Thank you. Oh. How are the hydrants going?
Thank you.
Who's next?
Do we have any other public input?
Hello, I'm Charlotte Wilson. Hello, I'm Emery Rice. Hello, I'm Zachary Brunel.
Hello, I'm Jose Martinez.
Today, we would like to bring up some problems we find with the out-of-town park. Some people have never been there, and some people don't think that any improvements should be made in general because they think that it might only affect some people rather than others, or there wouldn't be any changes with the visits between everybody. So we would like to tell you what we think would happen and if we did maintain it and if we did like show you our data for why we think that these changes should be made.
Data number one, out of the 27 people we surveyed, 15 of them have complaints. 88% of the people that we surveyed have went to the park, while 12 of them haven't. 15 of the 27 people had complaints about the grass and like the patches in the grass field at the out-of-town park.
Out of the 27 students we surveyed at SMS, 77% of them said if the soccer field at the out-of-town park was maintained more or better, them and their families would be playing sports more out there. Data 3. 84% of the 27 kids we surveyed at SMS said this will affect how often them and their families go to the park to play sports, the soccer field. This shows us that the community wants this change.
Some problems around the park are graffiti and vandalism. These cause problems with people that are trying to have fun and actually use the park for its purposes. such as soccer and other sports. Some solutions to these are more cameras, and to also close the park for certain times of the day or periods. Higher punishment for vandalism could also be a solution for this.
Another problem there is the fact that the grass is brown and patchy and dying. Some solutions for that is putting fake grass, since it typically doesn't die since it's fake, and also it doesn't normally get ripped out of the ground. Also, putting every month or so, putting new grass patches where there are dead grass, even though that's expensive, could help. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I'm Mariela Tarantino.
I'm Jacob De La Rosa.
Hello, I'm Noah Santos.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are excited to show how we can transform the out-of-town park from an old rusty playground to a vibrant, safe area for our community. Imagine a space that doesn't just sit there. It does more. It brings life back to our community.
14.7 million. We think the park is unsafe and not kid-friendly. We want to replace all the rips and vandalized parts to make them brand new again. These changes now may require a lot of effort, but in the long run are beneficial for our community.
We found that many people say now that the park is unsafe for the children occupying it. Currently, there are rips and tears in the out-of-town park play structure. We think it would be beneficial to change the hard wood chips to PIP rubber. It is a seamless safety surfacing found in a variety of parks.
There should be at least one security officer or guard hired to monitor the people. The reason why there should be a security officers or guards is because their presence would mean vandalism could be fined or property damage, as well as to deter gangs. A security guard could also open the bathrooms for public use.
We also found that many people do not enjoy the vandalism at the out-of-town park play structure. These are charts that took place from the beginning of the project to find the main point of conflict. Many people would like to replace the structure at the out-of-town park to make it more enjoyable and suitable for younger ages.
Improving the out-of-town park can play a vital role in the issue of overweight children. About 14.7 million U.S. youngsters ages 2 to 19 are affected. This park can provide a welcoming environment for families to engage in the physical activity for fostering health lifestyles. Engaging the out-of-town park can encourage more residents to be active and help mitigate these health risks. In summary, we believe we can improve the out-of-town park if you consider our ideas. The out-of-town park is great, but there's always room for improvement. We would like to make the park enjoyable again and make the money worth it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Write our names.
My name is Lawrence, and I'm here today to request improvement on the out-of-town park soccer fields. I have played on these fields, and I have seen guys from the city trying to help fix the fields sometimes. But after 3 years of playing on them with my team on the fields, I've seen a lot of kids get hurt on the fields. I love soccer more than anything, and I know other kids who do too. This is my only hobbies and activities in Fernley due to limited options for a way to spend my free time. Please fix our fields. We would greatly appreciate your effort to improve our fields. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Emily Nori, and I'm here on behalf of AYSO. I'm a volunteer with an AYSO in our regional soccer program. We serve on average 300 to 320 kids each season, sometimes less, sometimes more. I'm here today to request of you guys to take a very careful look at the soccer fields, to bring to your attention that season after season for the last 3 years that I've volunteered, we're seeing an increase in incident reports for children that are having more cuts from large debris, as well as big bushes that are not being cared for and removed from the fields. Amongst these are sticker bushes, goat heads, things that are actually very detrimental to kids' legs and arms as they play when they fall. We've also seen a huge increase in the holes being made by the ground squirrels, or whatever we're calling them these days. And this is actually resulting in a lot more risk for ankle injuries, as well as broken bones and concussions. We try to keep the kids as safe as we can, and we do all that we can in conjunction with the city to fill holes. I spend hours every week before games filling holes on the fields, as well as many other volunteers, and we just can't keep up. The city is doing everything they can to try and help us, but we're small and we need bigger help. I know that I've talked to a couple of the guys in the city department and they feel overwhelmed at times. There's a lot of projects and there's not enough money. So I would just ask the city to consider where we're putting our money and what we can do to help with some of these things, because these programs serve kids and we have limited options for entertainment. I also work in housing, so I happen to know that a lot of people that are looking to move to our city look at parks and amenities. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot here now. So to attract more people, the out-of-town park is very visible to many people that travel through and that visit. I would ask us to improve out-of-town park in order to improve options for families that are moving here. More and more, there's thousands and thousands of people that will be moving to our area in the next 10 years for projects with Tesla and other things. And we just don't have the infrastructure to give these people some of the amenities they need and to continue our sports on these fields. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grayson Kuntz,
Hello, my name is Asher Kuntz.
and we are doing the Autumn Winds Park basketball courts. Most kids of our time are in a crisis of inactivity, but basketball would be a good solution. It could create a good physical environment. That's why investing into a new basketball court in Autumn Winds Park would be a great investment. A new basketball court could bring new experiences to Autumn Winds Park, like promoting physical activity, encouraging kids to go outside, and reduce screen time. New basketball court would provide a safe outlet for the youth. Most of the parks in Fernley don't have a good basketball court, but adding on to Autumn Winds Park could fill a big gap.
We surveyed about 40 kids and 37.5 kids or percent said that the basketball court was the worst about Autumn Winds Park, and that's why we chose to fix it. Adding a new basketball court would be a great addition to Autumn Winds Park. A lot of problems from what we learned from students that we surveyed is that they play on a dangerous asphalt court with weeds overgrowing. In conclusion, building a new basketball court is more than a project. It is a vital investment in health, social, and future of our community, as put throughout this proposal. The court will serve as a safe and fun outlet for all ages and directly for the health and community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Colton Mares.
Hello, my name is Peyton Steffi.
Hello, my name is Josephine Hiles.
My name is Javen Linka.
What we'd like to talk to you about today is improvements for the out-of-town park playground and soccer field area. Have you ever gone to the out-of-town park and realized that there was nothing to do? Well, we have. What we'd like to talk to you about today is how we can fix the dead grass, what data we have collected from our community, comparing to the park, what it used to look like and what it looks like now, and what the community would like to change. As you can see in the papers that we have passed out, there are arrows showing comparisons from what the park used to look like on the left side and what it looks like now on the right side. Very top arrow shows a significant difference between what it used to look like and what it looks like now without the big red slide. Our second arrow in the middle shows the big difference that the green slide has made in our park. A third arrow at the very bottom is showing walls that have been removed, and that could be a reason or a safety hazard that people have not been coming to our park anymore.
While my group was collecting data, people have explained that they are using the playset and soccer fields less due to changes, damages, and removal of some equipment and equipment not being suitable for children who are younger.
Also, while we were collecting data, around 75% of people said their kids want the big red slide back and the green slide back. This could be the reason people have been coming to the playset not as often as when the slides were here.
After connecting with the community, we were able to find what people do and do not like the park. Many parents complained that that their children are at risk when using the fields, as the grass is very patchy and dangerous for the children. Thank you for your time. We hope to see improvement soon.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Katie Etcheberry.
My name's Lillian Carr.
My name is Dylan Obando.
And my name is Isabella Sanchez.
We're here because we want improvements to the skate park. Do you ever think, why do your kids never go to parks? Well, this is why.
First up, at the Fernley skate park, we need to improve the cracks in the ground and remove the rocks, as they can get in people's wheels and cause them to trip. We would like to add more concrete and lights for space and safety, along with concrete obstacles instead of metal, due to many complaints in the summer saying they get very hot and how burnt they get, and they could get burned.
Touching on that, we would also like to add shade. It can get hot during the summer, deterring people away from the park. Having shade would overall benefit them, but we would also need lights. At night, people can't see without lights. This can cause harm and safety issues to many.
We surveyed 113 people, and this is their stance on our changes. 82 people said that they would like to remove rocks and add more concrete and repair concrete.
101 people said they wanted lights surrounding the park.
98 people said that they wanted more shade.
Overall, the status shows that Fernley wants to change the skate park. We know that changes are to come, but this just shows how much we need them and how much we will appreciate them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any more comments about the parks? All right, so I will let you know this, that after speaking with Mr. Williams, who is our Public Works Director, his number one priority this coming up year are the parks. And we've got a lot of things that we're working through as far as financial and stuff goes, to be able to do everything each and every one of you mentioned. And we know it's a big problem. One thing we have is that when you have natural grass, that these parks, the grass never gets a chance to rest, because after baseball, then there's football, and football's like 9 months. And so these parks are really getting used a lot. And so speaking with Mr. Williams, we are looking at a new park out in the Farm District that will have playing fields, basketball courts, pickleball courts, fishing pond, and different things. So we hear you loud and clear, and we're working on it. So thank you very much for coming and letting the council, myself, know how important these parks are to you, because they're important to me as well. And I'm sure it's important to every one of these council members sitting up here. So thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Is anybody on Zoom? No hands raised? Nobody on the phone, no? Okay, that ends public forum. I will now move on to line 1.4, approval of the agenda. Councilman Lau?
I would like to make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion by Councilman Lau, seconded by Councilman Hannan. Please vote. Yes, if all the youth wants to leave, that's fine. You have school tomorrow. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to line item consent agenda. Looking for a motion on the consent agenda. Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Councilman Hannan, seconded by Councilman Lau. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. We'll now move on to line item 3 reports. This is items for various public entity representatives, provide general information to the council and public. No action will be taken. We'll start off with Lyon County Sheriff Department over here. Oh, we have the honor of having our sheriff, Mr. Brad Pope, here tonight.
Good evening, council. Mr. Mayor, excuse my voice, getting over a cold. Tonight, I thought it'd be appropriate to share our annual report with the council, with the mayor. It's so kind to put it on PowerPoint. Just gotta figure this piece out. Perfect. I'm not gonna go over the entire report with you like I did the county commissioners. I'm gonna stick to what's important to Fernley and what's relevant. But I do want to say that I am extremely proud of the dedication and professionalism of our staff, both sworn and non-sworn. The men and women of the sheriff's office are working harder than they ever have, and we do appreciate the staff, and the successes in this report is a direct reflection of their hard work. So I do want to acknowledge that. Training hours, I think it's important. 2025 Lyon County Sheriff's Office dedicated 16,242 hours of training. We just filled out our budget request today, and we increased our budget in training by 33%, that in travel, from roughly 66,000 up to 90,000 for training and about 80,000 for travel. As the world gets more expensive, it costs more and more money to send a deputy to training or to even bring training to Lyon County. Those are the deputies that passed FTO this calendar year in 2025. I'm sorry, last calendar year now. We are fully staffed on patrol. Everybody's Cat 1 certified, and mostly due to that class right there. We've actually worked it to where we're sending our jail deputies to the Cat 1 Academy now, because all of our patrol deputies are hired and certified and work in the street. Our dispatch, the Northern Command here, that's what we call Fernley, received almost 19,000 calls for service on the law enforcement side, and 3,600 calls for service, 3,700 calls on the fire side. Those all ran through our dispatch center. Says SO generic, we couldn't assign those to a call, to an area, couldn't assign those calls to an area, so it's probably more for both sides. Our response times, if you notice the response times in 2022, Fernley's in orange, they're color coded by the area's high school. Being a high school football coach, I thought that was appropriate, so Fernley's there in the orange. And one of the reasons why those response times were so high in 2022 was the priority to respond to calls wasn't really set. However, if you notice the Silver Springs response times right below it, there was no deputies in Silver Springs. So restructured the agency, put deputies in Silver Springs, and now the Fernley deputies don't need to respond to Silver Springs for calls. It's been a focus of ours to get those calls down. Priority 1, you can see, has gone from 23 minutes to 5 minutes. Priority 3, 42 minutes down to 10. So excellent response times. They'll continue to get better as it remains a high focus for us. And I would also comment that we had 0 accidents in our response to calls. So the deputies are doing it safely and professionally. Traffic stops, the PowerPoint kind of messed up a little bit of the numbers, but you can still see the data. Well, that's agency-wide. Once again, Fernley's in the orange. Year-over-year increase in traffic stops with a total of 2,921 stops, specifically in the Fernley area. Traffic remains our number one complaint, but it's not the number one duty of the sheriff's office. However, our deputies are working hard and are taking those complaints and running with them and performing a lot more traffic stops. That shows the year-to-year improvement just on the graph for the specific areas. Again, Fernley's in the middle there in orange. Sergeant Santos is stationed right here in Fernley. He runs the sheriff's traffic enforcement team. When we do get a traffic complaint about specific areas, they go to Sergeant Santos. Him and his team work on it and make sure that we get a saturation in those areas and on those streets. We're expecting those stats to be a lot better in 2026 now that everybody's trained up and our patrol staff is full. Lieutenant Vandiver runs our detention division. I would point out that our bookings are up year over year. And go to this. Yeah, some of these numbers got a little transposed. We had 1,659 arrests that were strictly from the sheriff's office. That doesn't include any other agency. 2,100 arrests if you count highway patrol, tribal, etc. 37% of those arrests come from the Fernley area. You know, people wanted to see how many of those arrests were actually from Fernley. We calculated out it's about 37%. Calculated out Fernley's about 40% population of the county. So we're seeing that to be pretty relative. Average inmate population has gone up. To me, that number is pretty impressive given bail reform. The average stay in our jail is about 8 hours now. And we're still running about a 98 to about a 105 average jail population, depending on the week. Inmate work crews are back at it. See several areas in Fernley that they cleaned up there. Helped with the mayor's clean sweep, helped with the homeless camp, cemetery cleanups, and the out-of-town park. We're looking at implementing more of those in 2026. Chief Deputy Branningham has already received some requests from the city to where we can help out. Investigations Division's doing a great job. I won't read every one of those stats. If you'll just take my word on it, they're busy. In 2026, within the first 10 days, they already pulled 18 case numbers for serious offenses. K-9 Division is doing well. We did lose one K-9 this year. Well, two K-9s from there. We did lose Boris, retired, and Deputy Sukup left to another agency, and we allowed him to take his dog with him. Dog wasn't fit for another handler, and we're sending Deputy Walker to K-9 school and to pick his new K-9 on Sunday. So we'll have a replacement, and he'll be all over the county. K-9 Areas is assigned to Fernley permanently, and one of our top dogs for sure. He does a great job up here. SWAT team, that's the vehicle that the city of Fernley purchased for us. Thank you. It's a great vehicle. School resource officers. One of the additions we made was adding a second school resource officer to Fernley. When we had one, that school resource officer was overwhelmed, overburdened constantly. Worked with the school district, increased our grant slightly, and I added a sergeant and another school resource officer here to Fernley. School district provides, I want to say, $500,000 towards the employment of the deputies. Roughly costs us about $750,000 plus our vehicles, et cetera. So we're about equal partners in it as far as hits to our budget. You can see the stats up there. Fernley High School, 152 calls. The intermediate school, 53. And this is just September 2nd, 2025. This is on the school calendar. This isn't the annual calendar. So that's a substantial amount of calls. Silverland Middle School, 125, Fernley Elementary, 11, East Valley, 12, Cottonwood, 34. 8 arrests out of the schools, 75 cases, and 387 calls for service just in that 3-month period here. Sex Offender Task Force, we got pretty aggressive with the Sex Offender Task Force in 2025 during the meeting. Came to our attention that sex offenders were given extra time to register. Wasn't too happy with that. So we put through our policy, 1 second late on registration is too late. And our unit has increased our arrests from 157 by 157% or 180%. And had 1 second too late get arrested to 45 years late have been arrested. So that's our span right now. Deputy Shannon lives at Fernley. He's responsible for handling our mobile outreach team. Our most team handles mental health incidents. He responds with a licensed clinical psychologist. And I believe he did over 600 calls, 635 calls for service. Don't have that broken down by area, but many of those are right here in Fernley. Grant funding has been huge. It's allowed us to get a lot of equipment that we didn't have in the past. And we actually secured another grant for Resource Router. That's a program I spoke with you guys about at the beginning of last year. That's being implemented now. That's going to have the biggest benefit here in Fernley. They've already gone through our report management system and downloaded 5 years worth of data. And they're going to be able to separate it out geographically far better than what our report management system can do. So it's going to help our patrol deputies, specifically here in Fernley. It's going to show where crimes are at. You can set a date range, last 10 days crimes, last month, and they'll all populate on the map. With pins, we could set zone priorities deputies have to check into, like one of them in the school zones, they have to check into the school zones. Et cetera. If they don't, they have to have an explanation why. So it's going to be a good program. We're looking at full launch in March, and we'll be able to have a lot better data for you, breakdown per area once that program launches. Records division's busy. One thing we've done with all of our arrests, reports, et cetera, is we've kind of overwhelmed our records division, overwhelmed the district attorney's office and JPO. To the point where the county's looking at hiring more civilian staff. But Northern Command, they processed 1,972 reports. Look at that, they processed 1,272 CCWs last year, 270 brothel work cards, 1 business license, 22 liquor license, is 960 sex offender registrations, 77 ex-felon registrations, and you can see the other stuff there, but very busy unit. We lost a position in last year's budget cycle. It was either that or give up a deputy, and chose to give up a administrative assistant, and we're asking for that position back in this year's budget. Sergeant McDaniel is based here out of Fernley as well. He runs our drone team. It's the future of law enforcement right there. There's drones and responses. And he's getting ahead of the game, pretty state-of-the-art stuff. Search and Rescue does a great job for us. VIPs do an excellent job. A lot of VIPs here in Fernley. If you look at that, the man hours that they work, they lost some members this year, went down by about 300 hours, but do an excellent job for us. Those are man hours that a deputy doesn't have to do, and we appreciate their service. There's our total arrests for the year. That number, a few of those numbers got a little messed up. That's 1,629 arrests. Those arrests are tabulated just by bookings into the jail. I would say that those arrest numbers are probably increased. One thing we do is if we arrest somebody in Fernley as a warrant out of Washoe County, we take them right to Washoe County. So the statistics won't show up in this report. And that's a pretty substantial number. Same thing in Dayton. If we arrest them, they have a Carson City warrant, we run them right to the Carson City jail instead of housing them, using our taxpayer dollars to feed them for 3 days while we wait for another agency to pick them up. Substantial increase. Driving under the influence arrests spiked up to 184. Drug arrests are on the way up. Burglary, larceny. These were crimes that we selected that affect the community's perception of said community. And these are the crimes that we target to lower. Great numbers. If we use all of our reporting numbers from the state system. If we use the federal reporting system, our numbers look even better. But the feds eliminate a lot of the crimes and don't count them. So we want to be as transparent as possible. I think if I use the Fed numbers, it would only show 117 larceny reports, but that wouldn't be accurate. So went with the accurate state numbers, and those are real numbers. There's no collusion to change crime types or not report stuff, which has been reported in the media from other police agencies, but none of that's happening here. Domestic battery arrests are way up. Child abuse and endangerment arrests are way up. Had a interview with Joe Hart about the child abuse and endangerment arrests. He did a report on a house in Silver Springs, and he wanted to know if that affected our arrests. Told him his report was good. Unfortunately, no, our deputies are aggressive and defaulting to make arrests in every incident. So every statistical category has seen an increase in arrests. Destruction of property, want to put this up there. See an slight uptick in destruction of property cases. I did an interview with Carson now. I don't know if she really comprehended what I meant, but that 217 number. So take one call for destruction of property in Dayton that turns into about 45 calls with victims is, I say juveniles because in that incident was ride down the street on a motorcycle and knock about 45 mirrors off of cars. Comes in as 45 separate cases. So we do have an uptick in it, but several of those numbers are one or two specific cases. So people were apprehended and the cases were closed. Robbery has a slight uptick from our low in 2023 of 3. We're at 8. And if you put in a percentage, that's 125% increase, but 8 is still a low number compared to 2022. We had 16. Identity theft. When I took over in 2023, we were real aggressive in the senior centers, community centers, churches on our identity theft presentations. The number went down. We all know as technology gets better, the thieves get better. AI is doing wonders for identity thieves, whether it's mimicking somebody's voice, mimicking a police report. It's really spiked those numbers. And I mean, 26 doesn't seem like a lot with a county population of 65,000, but to see a little spike in it is alarming. It's something we need to look at. Murder, see a decrease in there. The reason why we put that up there is people always ask about it. Like, oh, you didn't put the murders up there. You must be hiding something. Both of our murders in 2025 were murder-suicides by family members. One domestic violence situation and one mental health situation. And yeah, that's it. That was the Reader's Digest version. I'm glad that I have to go an hour like the commissioners, and kind of wish I had a couple kids to come up here and help me. That was pretty awesome. With that, I'd be happy to take any questions on the annual report.
I really don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for your commitment to Fernley, being the sheriff, and it has definitely made a difference. As we've grown in population, you have grown here in Fernley as well. So really appreciate the work that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilman Hannon, and then
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Zaberski.
Good evening, Sheriff Pope. It's always good to see you. Thank you very much for the report. We had one of these last year, and I said it was just an amazing piece of information to have. I shared it. I know you guys put it on your on your Facebook page, so it's available to everyone to look at. And I encourage everyone to go and look at that. It has a lot of good information, shows the trends. I want to thank you personally for keeping your promises. A lot of folks make promises, and sometimes it's hard to deliver those promises, but you have far exceeded the promises that you made and the dedication to Lyon County and Fernley. It's very much appreciated. Everyone I talk to when we talk about crime, and they mention the sheriff and they mention the deputies and the change that they've seen in the whole department, and it's impacted everybody in Fernley. I know for a long time, Fernley was where there was this big fight about should we start our own police department, and you've actually quelled, I think, a lot of that. Being able to do traffic was a big thing that wasn't being done. You've done that. All of these things that you've done, all the outreach, the school resource stuff, going to the schools and focusing on people's complaints. Really, you've been very reactionary to people when they bring something to your attention, and you've been very reactionary, and you've been able to solve all those problems. So appreciate that. Everyone that I've talked to says they appreciate your dedication to the county and the city, and for listening to the public and reacting and making a positive outcome out of negativity. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Zaborski.
Good job.
Thanks.
Good job.
Appreciate it.
I have a couple of questions. What is the time that somebody is given to register as a sex offender?
So it depends. We have sex offenders.
Like how bad the crime is?
Yeah, it depends on their tier level, 1, 2, or 3. Some have to register monthly. Some have to register annually. Most have to register if they get a new car, if they change cars, if they move addresses. It just depends on what tier they're in and how long they have to register for. For instance, one of those arrests was a sex offender came in to the substation, excuse me, had a car removed from his sex offender registration. Says, I no longer drive that car, and then left the parking lot in that car. So things like that we notice that we make arrests on. So it's little information. One big misconception is where sex offenders can live. There is no restriction on where they can live, etc. We get a lot of complaints in Yerington. The schools are surrounded by them.
Yeah, you'd think that would be a tiered thing
would hope
too,
so.
depending on where the tier is at.
Yeah, you would
So
hope
is that
so.
like a city decision? Is it
State law.
federal? Yeah.
Yeah, all state.
Okay. Uh, does Lyon County Sheriff Department have off-road vehicles?
We have one.
Like side by sides or?
So, well, search and rescue has one. The Lyon County Sheriff's Office has one. We have lent our side by side to search and rescue for better use. One of their vehicles is tracked for snow, and then the other is still has the regular wheels and tires on it. We were given the side by side. Says in 2020, 2019, 2020 to do OHV registration checks, and the OHV traffic, the actual off-road traffic on BLM is so low that I have not committed a deputy to doing that. So
Okay. School crimes, only because we just have like the calls, and I'm assuming like it's not something that you can really talk about a ton or disclose anything about that, but I would be curious kind of what the calls for service were at the schools, just so that we can kind of see what's happening in our school district. And I don't know if that's something that a school officer might be able to come present, something that they're seeing more, something that they're seeing a decrease in. I think that would be helpful as far as these statistics.
I
Just
get your breakdown.
yeah, that would be
Yeah.
great. Just because I am genuinely curious, and I'm not sure how far they are on the fence at the high school, or if it's finished already. But it seems like the kids kind of just reach their hands and let themselves in. So I was curious I mean, I appreciate it. I think it's great for safety, but I was just curious. I think that with some of those new things going up, if the sheriff's department is in like pretty constant communication with the schools about some of their more protective measures, it'd be really cool as a city if we could get, some updates on, okay, well, in the event that this happens, this gate locks, this gate locks, this gate locks, we'll have officers here, here, and here, just as far as peace of mind. And I don't know if that's something that you guys just communicate with the schools about, but I feel like the parents that I know would love to know kind of what that emergency operations looks like with our school officers.
Sure,
Yeah.
there'd be so many different scenarios.
Yeah.
That, putting in writing might be tough, but maybe maybe an in-person class or something
Yeah,
or,
but yes,
presentation would suffice, but, because it's just one of those areas that's so big, you could what if it to death, so.
right.
But I think you're right, something needs to be out, and we still need to get used to the single point entry system.
Right.
And, I know our school resource officers does take the squads through the schools, we do walkthroughs. So we know where we're going if something does happen.
Right.
And some of that stuff we don't want the public to know, but
That makes
there could be
sense.
stuff that is safe for the public and that won't harm our operations that maybe our SROs can do a presentation on.
Yeah, that would be great. I think that was I think that was everything. If I think of something else, I'll reach out.
All right.
Thank you.
Councilman Torres.
Great presentation, Sheriff. First off, thank you for coming in. I know you're back up for office this year. It's good to see you bring back a lot of programs that had gone by the wayside previous 8 years before you came in. It's nice to see that Lyon County Sheriff's Office is back to being proactive and getting things done instead of just being enamored with the position because you're called the sheriff.
You're
And-
right.
And I'm sure when you came in, you were like, I know you had a great idea of what it was like, but when you came in, it's really an eye opener to be the top dog.
Be honest, I learned a lot just sitting in the chair, realized, some people who sat in the chair before me weren't as smart as I thought they were. No offense to them.
No, I
It's a
get it.
tough job, but, until you do it, it's, it's eye opening for sure. You're
Well,
100%
I think you're
right.
doing a great job. It looks like you're definitely getting your money's worth out of the most program. That looks like it's very impactful. And then keep us in mind, anybody from the city, including council, the mayor or staff, when you go for grants and you need letters of support, please come to us.
Sure.
Because you are our law enforcement, and if we can push grants for you, I'm sure all of us would love to do that. Also, I think that's pretty much it. And the new Linco Bearcat is night and day compared to what we started with. So that's a beautiful SWAT van.
I looked at it at the National Sheriff's Conference and, it's amazing. And, if you guys want to buy us another one, it'd be awesome.
You're gonna let us auction the vehicle that we bought for you. I appreciate that. That's good government work. That's smart. But thanks, Sheriff. I appreciate it.
So I will say I did have a long conversation with former Sheriff Alan Vale and, did say that he was kind of my inspiration to returning the sheriff's office to a professional standard. And, I learned that as soon as I took over that, so I do appreciate it. He was under sheriff and that's where we're at. That's our mindset. So thank you for noticing that.
All right. Thank you very much, Sheriff. We appreciate you spending the time to come and give us this report.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. North Lyon Fire?
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Council, Bill Snyder for the record, Battalion Chief, North Lyon Fire. Some statistics. So for the year 2025, we averaged 13 calls a day, every day. And we ran some data with overlapping calls to kind of try to paint a picture to see how much time we're spending on calls and our unit utilization as far as our resources. So the data that we were able to pull out of those calls, about 1,470 of those calls, which were about 4 calls a day, were greater than 2 overlapping 911 calls at the same exact time. So that means we only have 4 firefighters on a day, sometimes 5. And then out of those 4, we have 1 to 2 paramedics out of that. So that's 2 ambulances running. And that means we have no ambulances available. In addition to that, we had additional 555 calls where there was greater than 3 calls or more throughout the year, which was another 1.5 calls per day, every day. So about 5.5 calls a day that we don't have units available. And what that translates to in time is about 8 hours every day for 2025 that we had no available people to respond to. Yesterday, for example, I was the battalion chief on yesterday. I had Story County here once or twice. It's Central Lyon from Stagecoach and Silver Springs 3 different times, and I had Pyramid Lake here twice yesterday. So it's just, it is what it is. It's always busy. I hate saying we're busy because I feel like I'm beating the dead horse, but I think it's important that everybody understands like how active it is here. I think the last time I was in this meeting, I don't think I gave a report, but myself and the chief deputy had to bail out of here for that shooter. That one ended up being a potential active shooter initially, and then you guys all kind of know what happened. Our relationship with the sheriff's office, I'm going to echo what everybody's been saying tonight about the sheriff and his job. We definitely support him. It's been amazing. He's done a great job. Our communication centers run through the sheriff's office. We've been working hand in hand with those folks. We were down there 2 days ago for their mandatory meeting. We did a little training with them for about an hour to kind of, get some of the newer dispatchers up to speed on some of our language. We also have a mass casualty that's coming through the emergency manager through the county, but it's in cooperation with the school, I believe. Don't quote me. Sheriff's office, of course, we'll have Central, Mason, all the players. It's going to be a big multi-company drill here. I believe it's March. We have been building the relationships around us with our mutual aid partners. So for the first time in about 6 years, we're participating in a Quad County hazardous materials response team. So if we have those incidents within our district, and as you guys all know, we have a high probability of those things occurring and they happen. We have to plan and respond and train for those things, right? So here in, I believe it's March again, we have a multi-company drill with Story County, Central Lyon, Carson City that will be hosting to do hazardous materials training, a drill with some scenarios that could possibly occur in the city. In addition to that, ourselves, Story County and Central, those are kind of our neighbors, our immediate neighbors that we actively engage with almost daily. So we're trying to train together quarterly now to we're doing multi-company drills. So we have to do all of that training on our days off because we just simply don't have the time in the day to do those things. But it's important. And so our guys are preparing, our guys that are on duty, we have to, by our contract, do 1 hour training a day, every day that you're at work. So our guys are doing training at 10 o'clock at night, 10:30 at night. They're trying to fit in skills and knowledge and things. So your guys are working really hard for this community. I want to express that. So, and kind of go back to the sheriff, kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but the other night, this happened a few months ago. We had twin neonates not breathing. We only had a couple paramedics in town, or one paramedic, one ambulance, and we grabbed one of our deputies and they drove our ambulance to care flight, or the helicopter. I don't know what helicopter it was. The other night, the chief deputy and myself drove over there, had one ambulance crew, we had a helicopter coming to transport because the interstate was shut down, as it does every day. And the chief deputy drove us across town because we have no manpower. So our relationship is where I'm going with this, is really tight with our law enforcement officers, which we really appreciate, our 911 dispatchers and all of our neighbors. So those relationships are growing and blossoming. And I know Chief Buns met with Mayor McIntyre multiple times and working on relationships and trying to do things together as a community and as a city. So I appreciate that. I appreciate Barry and the other department heads for working with us. As you guys heard, I believe I think it was the Planning Commission. Captain Kuntz is transitioned into prevention and he will be taking Chief Meyer's spot. So for all of that. So thank you guys here at the city for helping make that transition smooth and easy. Steve speaks highly of you guys and appreciates the cooperative relationship with the planning department and the building department and all the folks over here. So I just want to say thank you guys for helping us out, supporting us, and appreciate you guys.
Yeah, so I just have a comment, like you were saying, is that, I've been meeting with the chief, or trying to meet, we didn't meet in December, but we decided we're gonna meet every month and go over things, and EMS is the big hiccup. I was really surprised, EMS, Emergency Medical Service. I was really surprised um, that the calls that you receive of 100, just say 100% of the calls, only 20% of them are emergency. That kind of blew me away. Most of them are because somebody has a cold, or they hurt their back, or nobody there to drive them to Reno or Fallon or whichever hospital you take them to. So the more I meet with the chief, the more I learn. And so I'm just thankful that this relationship is getting better.
Okay. Any other questions?
Councilwoman Zaberski?
Hi.
Hi.
I guess I'm grateful that we have such great relationships with, our neighbors, whether it be Central or Story and all the different places that come and help us out. But I would be really curious how that negatively impacts their departments having to constantly come out to Fernley's aid, being that we don't have enough. And like semi-embarrassing. Like, I really wish that we had the manpower, and I hope that as a city we'll be able to work to a point where we're at with our sheriff's department in the same place with our fire department, where we're calls are going down, or response times are going down, or how we get people to the hospitals. I really hope that we get there. But I am genuinely curious, how that negatively impacts their departments too. If we're getting 13 calls on average a day, and we're having to have people come out for over half of those, I can't imagine that that's good for those communities either, right?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're drawing an ambulance out of Stagecoach or Silver Springs or Nixon is kind of where that ambulance is coming from, out of Pyramid Lake. I mean, those are long distances. So even if they come halfway and get turned around because we cancel them, you're taking a lot of time away from those communities. And there's a human side of it for the firefighters and paramedics. I'm not going to get into that. Just people, it's rough. And so, but we're here to serve you guys and our public, and it's our job to advocate for just that awareness of kind of like what the situation is and the scenario we're in, and try to advocate for figuring out what the formula can be to be better, so we can better protect the public. Because at the end of the day, you're right, a lot of the calls are not what I would define as an emergency, but it's an emergency to someone. And so I'm gonna just stop it there because I'll tell a story. It's not the time and place. So
If I gotta call 911, it's an emergency.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I was also I'm gonna swerve the mass casualty drill because that just scares me to pieces. But the hazardous material training, I think, is the more and more we get more industrial here, and obviously hazard material, but even for like our truck stops, even for oil spills and things like that, does the fire department have copies of places like that have, if there was an emergency situation, the process that those employees would follow?
Yeah, kind of. So we call them pre-plans. So we have a database of those, and so you name a business and it'll have the footprint of that place and kind of where the shutoffs are and kind of what their hazardous materials they may carry, how many employees, contact phone numbers, things like that.
Okay.
So yeah, we carry stuff like that. So we try to pre-plan, like prepare for those incidents ahead of time. So as they occur, we're not behind that curve. So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the report. And nobody from the school district here. All right, we'll go with Acting City Manager Lenny Holter.
Good evening, everybody. We have our ongoing Fernley Animal Services microchip clinic Happens every last Saturday of the month, so it'll be January 31st here at City Hall from 9 to 2, $15 or a bag of pet food. Great program. And just to mention, we're taking on our south area plan. So the area south of the canal and east of 95A. That public workshop is tomorrow night at 6:30 at the Community Response and Resource Center. So it would be great to have your input on what you want to see there, what you don't want to see there. Hopefully you'll spread the word and we'll have lots of people show up. That's all I have.
What time is that at?
6:30.
Aaron, can you turn, oh, never mind, they're off. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and start with Councilman Mendoza for council reports.
Yeah, I just want to give everybody that showed up to a lot of them are here, to the sports committee meeting held last week. There was a lot of productive conversation and a lot of the concerns were heard, and I'm happy to be there to help and kind of push some of those things through. So we will be asking you guys for more money. That's all I got.
You mean you're going to be asking yourself for more money?
Yes, that is true. So you guys better vote with me.
Councilman Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, the City of Fernley is accepting applications from citizens of Fernley wishing to serve on the City of Fernley Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. This recruitment is to fill one available seat on the committee. Let me see. The Senior Citizen Advisory Committee meets on the second Friday every other month at 9 a.m. here in council chambers. The next scheduled meeting will be February 13th, and the successful candidate may be required to attend other meetings or volunteer at special events to promote the committee. Interested persons should complete the boards and commissions application form, which can be found on the city website under news and spotlights. Applications must be received by the city clerk's office by 5 p.m. on February 9th, 2026. And for any questions you would like answered, contact the clerk's office at 778-784-9830. And then something that goes along with getting our parks, about 30 minutes before I walked in tonight, I briefed the mayor when I got here. We had another government entity fall off for the Brownsfield grant. We were asked if we wanted to, I was given a call, see if we wanted to be put on the Brownsfield grant application. I said, absolutely. It's for two properties. One is for where the city owns property where the fishing pond and additional parks are going to go. And the other one will be the property where the sewer treatment plant is planned. The new sewer treatment plant is planned, which is just north of the current plant. So what the Brownsfield grant will do, it's pre-construction test for contaminants on land and buildings. And you can get cleanup grants that are non-competitive. And then what's big for the park is we can do a reuse plan for the community fishing pond under this grant. Conceptual drawings, those kinds of things, basically planning and design. And if we're given the grant, we do those things. We're also going to open ourselves up to possibly getting EPA grants, because we're going to allow water to go back into the aquifer, as well as be given open and green space. So that's a pretty big deal. I think we have a good chance, better chance than not, to get the Brownsfield grants. So that just happened, like I said, 20 minutes before I walked in the door. Pretty excited for those two things, because we need a new sewage treatment plant, and that new park should be pretty nice. Thank you.
Councilman Lau.
I have nothing, but I'd like to say that I'm very, very proud of the Fernley youth that showed up tonight to talk about parks and how we have to start moving forward. They are our youth. They know how bad the parks are. I even know how bad the parks are. I've been on them. But I was extremely proud right now to have our youth come in and tell us and ask us, to help fix the parks. Thank you, everybody, for even coming.
Councilwoman Zaborski.
I'm gonna copy that as well. I'm sure that it was kind of a mix of everyone who organized our kids together, but I honestly kind of shocked and embarrassed that none of them had stage fright. They were all just ready to talk and it was smooth. And I mean, it's taken me like 5 years to talk into a microphone. So am super impressed. And I feel like a rookie public speaker now. Um, but I think that just to mirror what Albert said, if we can actually use those grants to put into the fishing park and the plans that we have there, then we can take that money and throw it into our current parks. The grass is greener where you water it has never rang more true in our city, and so being able to take that money that we have for future plans, if we get grants that come in and help us pay for those, then we can turn around and put the money we had for the plans into our parks. So thank you.
Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I want to again echo the sentiments of the rest of the council. It's always good to have people come, and the youth are rarely here, and it's good to hear from them. To see their faces, the emotion in their words helps to convey to us the urgency of some of these matters, and it's much appreciated and well received. I too have a vision for Fernley, and part of that vision is when I drive through the roundabout, I look at the center and I'm frustrated that it doesn't exemplify who we are and what we represent. And adjacent to the roundabout is Out of Town Park. And every time I drive by Out of Town Park, I see the dirt parking lot and I want to pave it and I want to put lights in the parking lot and I want to do a walking path and trees. And I think that because that entrance is used so much, exit 48 is sort of the gateway to Fernley for most people. It really is a reflection of who we are. And I think we have a lot of work to do. And I look forward to those discussions and incorporating our youth in that. With that being said, I just want to make a couple announcements. I was able to attend the Builders Association meeting last week. I hadn't been in a while, and it was good to see such a large group of folks there. A lot of good ideas, a lot of smart people, and sharing ideas, interacting with the city. Mr. Mayor was there, and city staff, and I appreciate everyone. I also attended the Rotary last week. The Rotary has a new president. There was sort of a falling out there at the Rotary for a bit, and there was low attendance, but we had 35 or 40 people at the Rotary, and that was good, back up from six or seven. We had a union meeting today, and this is our dedication to the union that represents city employees. We dedicated ourselves to doing quarterly meetings now so that we have better communication with the union. We held our meeting this morning, and we are on to bigger and better things. We're all in unison, and Mr. Mayor was there for that as well. I appreciate the union's participation. And I want to thank code enforcement, Lyon County Sheriff's Office, and Bureau of Land Management for helping to remove the campers that were illegally camping on a piece of BOR property. I believe there was some BLM and then some private property behind the Love's Truck Stop. And so that has been removed as well. Thank you very much.
All right, Councilman, now go ahead.
Yes, I forgot to mention, a week ago Monday, I spoke at the Rotary, and it was a great presentation. There was a lot of Rotary, and it was very informative. And I want to appreciate and say thank you to the Fernley Rotary Club for asking me to speak. Thank you.
All right, so as Councilman Torres is speaking about the Brown grants and stuff, I too got an email today from Nevada Fish and Game, and they need some information on the fishing pond that we're speaking of, because they are also putting in for a grant to help sponsor and build this park. So this is really great news. There's, I know Fish and Game said they'd come out 3-4 times a year and stock the pond. It doesn't cost the city of Fernley nothing. And so, I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting this park built. It does a couple things. It's going to relieve a little bit of pressure off the other parks so that once we do improve the other parks, that they'll have a little bit of time to breathe. Also wanted to speak about the the annual State of the City address will be February 26th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Boys and Girls Club. So I'm looking forward to giving kind of a overview of where we've been and where we'd like to go at this speech. So if I could ask council right now, if there's anything that they want to add to that speech or anything they have going on, please let me know so I can put it in the speech, because you guys have done an excellent job up here, and we just need to continue to move this city of Fernley forward in a positive manner. So I appreciate each and every one of you and for the work that you put in on this council. And that's all I have. So we do not, excuse me, we do not have any proclamations by the mayor at this time, but we'll move on to, is everybody fine? Need to take a break?
I need a break. Need a break.
Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute break. we are on line item 5.1 for possible action. Introductory of first reading bill number 374 associated with CA 25008 to amend table 07-1 residential single family density intensity standards of section 32.06.070 of the Fernley Development Code to remove the 20-foot side combined setback for the SF6 zone and make minor grammatical corrections to the section as a whole.
Good evening, Council. Lisa Warner, Assistant Planner. For the record, since this is a first reading, I can only take questions from the council. So let me know if you have any.
Does council have any questions at this time? All right, seeing none. We'll move on. Excuse me for my little cough. 5.2, introductory, first reading of bill number 363 associated with CA 25006 to amend the Fernley Development Code dealing with daycare, implement the following. 1, amend Title 32, Chapter 2, Section 030 definitions to update the definition of child care facility and child care in-home. In addition, a definition for adult daycare. And 2, amend Title 32, Chapter 7, Section 150 daycare, child care to make minor grammatical corrections and amend Table 32.07.150-1 daycare, child care use standards to update and expand it on development standards. And 3, amend Title 32, Chapter 9, Section 120, Table 32.09.120-2, parking ratios to make minor grammatical corrections. And 4, amend Title 32, Chapter 6, Section 150, unlisted use and use table to amend Table 32.06.150-2 and use table to make minor grammatical corrections, adjust where daycare uses are allowed, and update required application types to establish this type of appropriate zoning districts.
Good evening again, Council. Lisa Warner, Assistant Planner. For the record, I know Mayor just read a whole bunch of words and a whole bunch of numbers, so I'm just gonna kind of give you a couple of the highlights of the changes that we were making, so it kind of makes a little more sense, because that was a lot to read. We're updating the daycare development code. We updated definitions of childcare facility and childcare in-home. And then we added a definition for adult daycare, which we did not have in our code before. We made some grammatical changes throughout other sections. We also adjusted daycare uses and allowed adult daycare in the same zones as childcare facilities. So those require the same application. They're allowed in the same zones. We updated use standards to add outdoor play hours, outdoor play area fencing, sign usage, and allowing new standalone buildings. And then we eliminated the requirement for a conditional use permit for overnight childcare hours. And this is also a first reading, so if there's any questions from council, I can take those.
We do have a question by Councilman Mendoza.
Yeah, I got a document in our packet that said there was a red line version. I know there's difference in language, but was there actually any red lines? Because I don't have them in that file.
There were red lines because there were quite a few changes in a lot of different places.
Can we have that resent or
Yeah.
resubmit it, please? Thank you.
Of course. Any other questions?
Seeing none, we will move on to line item 5.3, introductory of first reading of Bill 373 associated with CA 25007, a request from the Planning Department City Manager's Office to amend the definition, use table entries, use standards, and parking supply requirements for the animal services land used as contained in Fernley Municipal Code Title 32, Chapter 2, 6, 7, and 9, FMC 32 32.02.030, FMC 32.06.150, Table 2, FMC 32.07.060, and FMC 32.09.120 of Table 2.
Thank you, Mayor McIntyre. City Council, Elisa Johansson, Senior Planner for the record. I'm here tonight for introduction and first reading of Bill 373. As the mayor described, this is a very comprehensive and much needed update to the animal services land use regulations in our development code. We really touched everywhere in the code that this land use was mentioned. So that would include the definitions. Those have been completely overhauled. We also updated the use table to clarify the types of entitlement processes that are required and where these uses are allowed in terms of the zoning districts within our city. We also updated the use standards, so developing some very specific requirements for these types of uses and also developing some additional requirements where these uses include outdoor play or confinement areas. And then finally, we updated the parking supply requirements to better reflect the needs of these types of businesses. We are hoping that this amendment will encourage these business types to come to Fernley. Our current code is extremely restrictive and it prevents us from providing the community with much needed animal services, including our own facility, which is now more of a possibility than it was before once these updates are hopefully adopted. We do have a public hearing scheduled for February 4th. So if you have any major questions, I would encourage you to wait until that time when the public is present and available to participate. But if you have any general or basic questions, I'm happy to take them tonight.
Do you have any questions from council? Councilwoman Zaborski?
I think it's kind of a general question for multiple of the amendments on the ordinances. I'm just curious, is there any outside entities that review amendments or changes to our code outside of city staff? Like
Yes,
our fire
we-
department, our sheriff's department?
Generally, it really depends on the types of changes that we're making. So I can tell you that with this code amendment, this went to the internal city departments that would have a hand in regulating these use types. So we consulted heavily with the city manager's office and our animal control program manager. Once we had developed a draft that was what we felt ready to move forward to a regulatory body, we then incorporated our outside legal counsel for sort of a legal review of the text specifically. That outside perspective sort of helps us identify issues that, maybe we don't see because we're too wrapped up in, the code development process. That outside perspective helps us see unintended outcomes and possible implications of the text that we're drafting. But this particular one did not go to the sheriff's office or the fire department.
Okay. And I'm trying to say this without being out of line, being that we've already passed those agenda items. But if it's something that we're changing in our development code that has to do with childcare facilities or adult facilities that potentially could be seniors or at-risk people, would our fire department or our sheriff's department be brought in when we're changing codes that have to do with what areas those are allowed in?
I would prefer to defer that question to Lisa, who managed that particular code amendment. Lisa?
So as far as I know, that was not sent to the sheriff's office or the fire department. I inherited it after that. It had been worked on a little bit. So I'm going to defer that to Michelle for the final answer on that. So there
Let
might have
me
been some
jump in
prior
here.
discussion that I wasn't part of.
Let me jump in here. Elisa Johansson, Senior Planner for the record. I did help prepare that code amendment before it was passed off to Lisa. Thanks, Lisa, for presenting to Planning Commission and Council. And because this is a development code text amendment and it really relates to land use compatibility and development standards, so how the building is designed, how the building interacts with the existing neighborhood context, how these use types behave in the permitting environment. So how do we as regulators regulate this business from a planning perspective? Because our scope is relatively narrow, we generally don't bring in those outside agencies for their comments on development code because there really is a very limited nexus there. And I'll pass it to Michelle if she has anything else she'd like to add.
Well, I'll give you an example. Michelle Rambo, Planning Director, for the record. I'll give you an example. We're also working on a potential short-term rental ordinance. And that will definitely have to go to the police, the sheriff's department, because they will be responsible for enforcing some of that. If there's nothing for the sheriff's office or the fire department to enforce, they don't usually have any comments on them when we do ask them about them. And we do in development team meetings that we have, internal meetings, we'll mention it to them and then they say, oh yeah, we don't need to see it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to presentation 6.1, presentation by the Fernley Youth Sports League Committee regarding the Fernley sports fields and future needs.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Olivia John, Deputy Public Works Director for the record. This is a presentation again by the Fernley Sports League regarding sports fields and future needs. I just wanted to note as well that it does say on here the Fernley Youth Sports League. The adult leagues are involved as well, so it's not just the youth. And I'll go ahead and turn it over to Gabe Leha.
Hey guys, how you doing? Thank you for allowing us this time. I'm pretty excited to talk about the sports leagues and the committee that's been happening. Stan Lau, who kind of was at the beginning of this forefront, getting us together was an absolute wonderful idea for our communities, for our parents, for our sports leagues. We're just a bunch of people like you guys doing what's the best interest of Fernley. And so behind me we have a bunch of folks that are just engaged with whether they're running leagues, whether we're running tournaments, regardless of what we're doing, we're all doing something for the best interest of our town and city, it's just Fernley. So one of the things we want to talk about, let's go to the next one. Okay, which button do I press? On the side? There's a little tape job, maybe it's. There you go.
It's just this one right here, this arrow. Oh, it's
Ooh.
actually, it's not.
Well, who can press the next button? There we go. All right.
Okay, I think I got it to work.
Oh, there we go. All right, we're good. We're good. We're up. So we're going to kind of, we want to talk a little bit about short-term and long-term. And one of the things that we're talking about, one of the things we've identified is we've just overgrown and we're at capacity in every aspect of our fields. Now, when Councilman talked about when you've actually walked on the fields, I got some pictures here of fields recently. You know, we just don't have enough anymore. We've outgrown them by years and years and years. And our fields don't have enough time right now to heal themselves, to fix themselves. And Randy and Dalton, I want to just tell you guys, those guys have turned into the work that they do for on top of what you guys already have. And then you pile on all these events that we do. Each league has their season that gets geared up, and these guys just get added a ton more work. And I feel like we're sending these guys into a gunfight with not enough ammunition. And that ammunition is time and money, right? And the ability for them to shut something down, they can't do it right now. You shut one of our fields down during non-winter, right? You've now affected massively a league. Someone is going to suffer because of that, whether it's girls softball, baseball, football, soccer, regardless of what we do. We are at a point now Well, we have to figure out a short-term goal and maybe a long-term goal for our community. We talked about, Barry talked about, we anticipate growing, right, and part of the committees of 5 to 10,000 people over the next how many years? Right, so that tells me, what are we going to do for our parks? What's that going to do for our leagues? Our leagues are going to grow every single year. I can speak for softball and baseball. Every single year, we're breaking record numbers. More kids, more kids, more kids. However, the one thing we're not doing is adding fields for these kids or the ability to have more space for them to work. So the short-term goal is kind of we have an opportunity with the lighting. So a lot of us go right here. So a lot of us on field 2, out of town park, we have lights on field 1 and we currently have lights on 4 and 5. So we have 3 fields that have the ability to be ran or used all through the evenings. Whereas right now, currently field 2 does not have any, or this is 3, excuse me. Field 3 does not have any lights. Over the past 8 months, Mr. Mayor was part of that meeting with Trex. Trex has reached out and said they'd like to help with the lights. We've also went through and talked with about a dozen contractors that have been willing out and said that they're willing to take and help with, let me go to this next one. If you look up there for the lights on field 3, the estimated cost in labor is $80,000 to $100,000. And again, it kind of varies based on what we have to do. However, that $80,000 to $100,000, we have now gone through parents and through people that work and live in Fernley. They've all donated and have committed to say, yes, if you guys can get the lights, which is what we need for is $81,000, which is down from 120 because we've negotiated and begged, borrowed, and pleaded and said we need the best deal because it's not City of Fernley that's installing these, right? It's not buying them. It's mom and dad from Fernley. And so that really helped us negotiate the pricing. I was able to go, I'm not speaking on behalf of city. I'm speaking on behalf of us parents. Mom and dads are buying these lights right now, are figuring out how to help our city get what they need. Because what I constantly have been told is we don't have the money, we don't have the funds, we don't have the ability to help you guys fix what you want to fix. And that's just what I'm getting told. And when I say that, I'm being told by Barry Williams. So that right there tells me that we got a problem. So how do we fix that problem? I'm not going to ask and beg and borrow, but what I'll do is go out and see what can I do to help my city and help my kids. And I say all our kids and all the adults figure out a way to get some of this money. And $100,000 in labor contracts and skilled workers, equipment donations, that's a lot. That took a lot for us. Also, the money of with Trex coming in and said, hey, we would be willing to help with part of that, but we got to know that the city is on board. And which is why we had that meeting, about 6-7 months ago. This picture, it talks about all the stuff on the right. We already know current facilities are aging, they're overcrowded. But more so, that picture kind of gives you a today of what our fields actually look like. Now, if you look at that thing, I mean, those fields are rough, right? And we didn't even get the worst field, which is field 5 on there, which is down towards the bottom. It's like a desert out there. And one of those things that we did with Barry was we walked the fields. I said, let's actually walk, because if you guys go around the roundabout and you just kind of look over, the fields look pretty good, right? It looks like there's grass there somewhat. But if you go and look at them during the mid-season, again, right out the gate, you got baseball, softball, cheer uses them, soccer. We go to the soccer field's not even on this picture, but all of these fields look like that bottom field, which is just like they just continue to go dormant. And then now our kids are playing in dirt, right? Instead of sliding and out in grass or having grass or the ability to do that. Well, we're getting worse and worse. So we're using the parks more, and we're not allowing the team, your team, or giving them whatever tools they need to successfully get these back, kind of bring them back to life on an annual basis. We talk about the plan, what we want to do, what we're trying to help with. We've talked about this before. Fernley Youth Softball tournaments is donated, right? The league themselves, they purchased $12,000 in dirt for the in-town park. Again, we got a bunch of dads and parents involved to go help. We also went and fixed all the backstops on field 1 and 5. Now, that's just what we're doing as far as trying to do our part. Because I feel that we just can't tell the city, please help us. I feel there's got to be a two-way street here. We got to have the group that's behind me, and these people, these parents going, we want to help, and they do. We just don't know how. We keep getting told we can't. And so now we're at the point now where we've gone through and kind of give you some numbers. What we're asking for today is for budgeting that's not in the park master plan or in the budget for 2026. We're asking for additional funding to be approved, and I'll kind of break it down. As far as field dirt goes, it takes about $15,000 per field to remove the current dirt and just get enough dirt to put it back down. That does not include any of the labor. So we're just talking materials today. As far as field sod goes, you're looking at anywhere about $92,000 to resod the entire one field. Obviously, there's a little bit of variation with the size of the field, like field 4 and 5 versus 1, 2, and 3. But if you look at field 1 up there, which is the only field that has kind of like a sand color, right? It looks kind of white. That, if you guys have ever been out there, that dirt, it looks like it's probably one of the original dirt that was put in that park, right? There's no, it's just sand. So when you go out there and you play on it, or the kids play on it, we have to be very careful on how we water it and how we drag it, because it turns into, if you ever water sand, you know what it looks like. So we're asking these kids to go play on these parks where, again, it's just not to the level that we would want our town and something to be proud of, right? One of the things we do is we bring these tournaments in and we're competing. And I talk about this all the time. We're competing with all these huge, giant conglomerate sports complexes. And that's one of the next things we'll talk about. But this up here, that picture, we're putting that up against some of the multi-million-dollar facilities. And then we're telling them to come here and spend your money. Well, how do we continue to get that better? How do we just fix that? Because we got something, and that something is the people of Fernley. That something is the people that are behind us, that are willing to do whatever they have to do to get our fields right for our kids and our community. And so as far as money goes, for field 1 and field 5, we're asking for $30,000. It's $15,000. And again, we have enough people that we will go ahead and help install it, lay it down, do all the labor part of it. So we feel that that's our way to be able to try to help you guys, help our city. So it's kind of again, we're going back to that. We're pulling on the same rope together. Field sod, if you look up field 5, 4, 2, 1, it's about, again, we're just kind of guesstimating. We got the estimates, which is currently on your budget. It's about $100,000 per field. So that's $400,000. If we go over to the soccer field, we obviously know the soccer field is going through a gopher extermination protocol right now, but the soccer field is probably the worst field out of all of them, right? And that's pretty tough to go on. If you guys walk it, you'll see that there's just sections of massive amount of just dirt, right? So the kids are just playing in the dirt, and then if you go out and mid-year roll a ball through there at certain parts of it, fields 6 and 7. If you roll a ball through there and you pick it up, the kids have sticker burrs all over it, right? So that's tough. We want the kids to go out there and use that field. The dirt's okay, right? The dirt's nice, but then they can't really go use the outfield. And again, it's just because of, I don't know, I'm not a grass guy, but it's hard. It's hard to watch that and tell them, kids, you can't use that field. So we wanted $100,000 we're asking for the soccer fields. And then the lighting that we talked about earlier in the slide is about $81,000. So again, this is just short-term repairs to get our fields to a standard in which we feel is safe, right? And something that we can be proud of. We're not asking to build or add on or make something, new bleachers or any of that. We're just trying to get the fields back to what we think a standard that is acceptable for our kids and our community. And so that budget we're asking for is an additional $611 to $620,000 to be put aside for this coming year so we can actually do something today or now that's not already planned in our budget. The next part, I'll let these guys talk about. Roman, Jamie?
Roman Cisneros, so president of Fernley Youth Football, vice president of Sagebrush Pop Warner. So the vision that we have for the long term, Gabe talked about short term. The long term is a multi-sport complex for the city of Fernley, and that's for all sports: soccer, baseball. Yeah, there you go. Baseball, lacrosse. If we can get a lacrosse, start to bring that in. I know I've talked to Stan a couple of times. Rugby, adult rugby. I mean, there's multi facets that we could bring. And we need a facility for our cheer girls, for volleyball, wrestling. These are all things that we can bring tournaments and things into this city to, as they say, beds and heads, right? We can do things to make money for the city. And I know it's going to be a big investment, but in the long term, we have walking trails, concession stands. I know we've talked about camping grounds, things like that. Like you said, the tournaments, we're competing with Reno. I mean, they got guys building a big, multi-billion-dollar stadium in downtown Reno, another one for the youth, soccer programs and things like that. Like he said also, we're growing. Our numbers are growing every year. We're sitting, when I took over, we were at 250 athletes in football and cheer. We're sitting at 500 right now. And I keep getting more and more inquiries every day about when our signups are. So for us, if you want to flip, we got kind of some design concepts. One of the lucky things that I got to do being part of the Sagebrush is I actually went to National Pop Warner event in North Carolina. The one up top, the picture on the top, up there is the clubhouse of the stadium that they held the championship games in. What it doesn't show in this picture, and I can get you guys the layout, is the vision of what we've envisioned our facility, so to say. You walked in, there's four fields that they were using for football, but I talked to the guy that was the gentleman that ran it. They use it for soccer, lacrosse, everything like that, just those 5 fields there. And then you go down around the corner and it's kind of like Golden Eagle. There's baseball fields. They have 12 baseball fields. We're not asking for that, but we want a big complex to where the softball can have tournaments, Little League can have tournaments. They can host regional games. We can host regional games. We just signed for Sagebrush the East. So we just added to our 120 football team roster for Sagebrush. We just added 50 more teams, and we're going to split it to East and West. So we could actually hold championships here for the East if we had this kind of facility. We can't do it now because we don't have anywhere to build it big enough. But that's more money that we could bring into the city. You ready? You go ahead. The big community benefits, right? So it's going to help all sports. That's the big thing, is it's all sports. Keep the youth active and engaged. How many times have you heard if the kids had something to do, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing, right? I know Gabe probably gets the same kind of phone calls I do about kids if they see him on Chit Chat. Hey, this kid's wearing this jersey. You know who this is? Yeah. And then I'll forward the message on to the parents. Hey, you need to call somebody. I know Gabe probably gets the same thing. We get stuff from the schools. Hey, these kids are acting up. Can you talk to them? Yeah. Hey, school's important. Things like that. I know I've gotten a lot of compliments on the kids in Fernley. You saw the great kids here, talking, to you guys about, what they would like to see. I've gotten so many compliments from Bay Area teams that we've competed against about how great our kids are. The standard that our parents set for our kids and our coaches set for these girls and these boys, our athletes, is amazing, and I hear the same thing from about softball. These kids are great. Baseball, I know lots of baseball people. Hey, these kids are amazing. And it doesn't come light, right? It's just how we are as a town. We're a big sports town. We're passionate about what we do. It's also going to reduce travel costs for families. Like Gabe said, they have to travel for tournaments because these nicer facilities are able to pull these tournaments in. You know, it'd be nice to be able to have them here in Fernley, reduce that travel cost. The tournaments and tourism, you know, revenue, it was crazy. That 1 week tournament that in cheer competition, we probably ran through 100,000 people just in a week in North Carolina. So, I mean, we won't be that big, but the opportunity is, you figure, cut that in half for if we were just to do a regional event. Or softball could probably bring in, you know, a lot more people into their tournaments, whereas they're limited now with what they do. Soccer, same thing. They could start hosting tournaments. Adult softball can start hosting, you know, Northern Nevada tournaments. You know, we could have volleyball tournaments, wrestling tournaments, anything you can think of, we could, if we had a facility, we could pull off. Recreation for all ages. You know, one of the things that they have is, you know, walking trails, concession stands, you know, for anybody to walk around there, right? Right now, the biggest thing that I see is people go and let their dogs run on these baseball fields and soccer fields. And, you know, before we go to practice, I know Gabe's walking them. I know this baseball's walking them, just because there's dog crap all over them. We have to make sure we're picking it up, because you don't want a kid sliding in it, falling face first in it. You know, it's not good, you know. And then you try to be nice to these people. Hey man, can you clean up it? And they start biting your head off, and it's like, all right, it's not even worth it anymore, you know, to ask these guys to clean up after themselves with the dogs. So if we had this facility where we could all be, and it would be enclosed, and it would be, you know, taken care of a lot better, I think. You want to go?
You done?
Yeah.
Okay. For the record, Jamie Cisneros, Secretary of Fernley Youth Football League. We're proposing a funding mix of city investment into these parks. We're going to try for state recreation grants, corporate sponsorships, naming rights if they name a field. That's a pay to name a field. Do a lot of community fundraising, which a lot of the sports organizations already do. Public and private partnerships, levying city support and attract grants. And so basically like a third party to run the parks. I know we've discussed that a little bit in our parks meeting, but we haven't gone into too much other detail other than mentioning it. So the economic impact could be phenomenal for Fernley. I think that we could probably put tournaments or have some kind of activity every weekend of the year once it's built out. Wedding venues, visitors, tournaments, sports tournaments, you name it, we can put it on. An estimated 2 million in local spending. I honestly think that could be more once it's built out. Job creation during the construction and the operations. Yeah, I mean, that'll keep locals here working at home. The project will strengthen a local economy and creates lasting benefits, because this type of thing won't go away. I don't know if any of you have been out to Golden Eagle. That's the only one that I've really gone to, but every weekend it's packed. It does. There's Sparks is bringing in $23+ million a year now that it's built out. So that's a lot of money. Okay. The project timeline. Phase 1 would be land identification, preparation, and design. We would ask that the city please find us space to allocate to this project. Phase 2 would start construction. Phase 3 would be the build out and the amenities. Year 4 would be opening up and reaping the benefits of these tournaments and what we can do at these facilities. Okay. We ask the city to direct the staff to identify land and obtain the design and project estimates, allocate the initial funding through budget processing, try to find a revenue stream, partner on grant applications and sponsorship outreach. A lot of us are very willing to do as a nonprofit to work with the city to get grants for this and help approve the pro site and development plan. And as you saw, all these kids were here. They deserve the facilities because there's a lot of potential in this community, a lot, and they're all doing wonderful. Sorry. Let's build a place where Fernley plays together, where the families can stay here, and thank you for your time and commitment.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any comment from this council? Councilman Lau.
Great presentation. Thank you for coming and asking for this. I really appreciate that. And I would like to see if the council would like to start moving forward with trying to look at possible areas for a sports complex, but mainly getting these fields fixed because they are pretty bad.
They're dangerous.
They really need some work. I mean, when you see how the out of town park is, I mean, you have patches and you're on those practicing with the kids. So we have to first probably get our fields fixed. But I agree, we need to get a sports complex. And I wouldn't mind, you know who really needs to help us too with this? Is our county, Lyon County, and do a combined partnership, build a facility for all of us. But thank you.
Councilwoman Zaberski.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm fortunate and unfortunate enough to be out at those fields all the time, being that I have young athletes, but a constant concern about them getting hurt, especially, you know, my oldest is in her high school year now, and if she gets hurt right now, that's so bad for her, you know, let alone the little kids playing soccer. They're just now getting into sports and just eating it all the time. I guess I'm not really sure where we go from here because I feel like now we've had this kind of our parks need help, our parks need help, our parks need help, and then it falls off. So as a city, I'm curious where we can go, what motions that we can make to start identifying some of this stuff so that it doesn't just fall by the wayside until summertime, you know, next year where we go, oh my God, our fields are in bad shape. So hopefully staff and Public Works can help us with where we start there. I am curious as far as for our planning, what the amount that our developers come in and pay per house towards our parks.
$1,000 per house.
It's $1,000 per unit, but it only goes to parks that are in the master plan, in the parks master plan, and only residential in residential areas. So it's kind of limiting right now. We are looking at a bigger, broader parks impact fee with our impact fee study. So we can bring in, you know, get a little more generalized park locations and money for those. We are looking as part of the updating the master plan, we're going to have a new parks element to the master plan. So this is a good chance to add additional park space into the master plan so that those fees can go towards that. We are looking as part of the South area plan, we are looking at some space for more bigger regional park. That might be a potential option out there. So, you know, we are aware that we need more and we are looking at potential future options. And I know that Barry, Public Works, is putting something in his budget to look at sites, to do a site study or something like that. I don't know the details, but it is coming. We are looking at it.
How long has it been $1,000 per house? Forever? Is that mandated through like the state, or does the city decide the amount?
Charity Burkle, building official for the record. Hi, Felicity.
Sorry, I can't.
So
not see
because
you.
I collect all the fees through the building department, I thought maybe, and I'm kind of do it on a daily basis. We collect our park tax fees from a Lyon County ordinance, and we are at the max capacity. It has not increased. The park tax, I don't believe, has increased in well over 5 years, but let me get you a more accurate answer when I can look at that ordinance tomorrow. But that is an ordinance set forth from Lyon County.
Is that something that the city can veer from?
That would be a question for possibly our finance department. I don't know the answer to that. Or maybe legal.
Yeah, Robert Carson, City Treasurer for the record. Like Charity, I'd have to look more at the ordinance with Lyon County and get back to you on what we can and cannot do with it. I'm not totally familiar off the top of my head right now, so I'll look at it tomorrow and get back to you.
Thank you. I think that there's a little bit of a flaw in how we collect money for the parks for new developments coming in, because I know in our code we have like an open space or a park portion of our development code that says if you have this many houses, then you got to put a park here. And then the park falls into an LMA, somebody doesn't take care of it, it turns into city property, and then our parks department is overwhelmed. And I feel like it seems like kind of a get out easy card for developers. Always say, oh, that's just open space. We gave you this much of the desert, so that's going to take us out of contributing to your parks. And so I don't know where we can find that, where we can alter that, where we say, okay, well, if you're new development coming in, you're this distance from this park, so you're going to contribute to making Autumn Winds better, or you're going to contribute to the out of town park, you're closest to that. But I feel like we really need to look at something, just a long-term revenue source, that we have to do something different so that we can take care of our parks there. And then as far as like industrial business that comes into Fernley, same thing, do they pay a flat fee into, whether it be like a Mark IV or any of the big industry that's coming in here, what do they contribute to our community outside of donations for?
Charity Burgle, building official for the record. The only one of the, I guess what you would call impact fees or taxes that commercial or industrial pays is a price per square footage for road tax. They don't contribute anything to the park tax or school tax accounts.
I'm not sure if you have the answer, but why?
Charity Burgle for the record. I wish I had the answer to that. Like I said, we collect our fees based on old Lyon County ordinances, which I will forward to all of you guys up there tomorrow so that you can see what those fees are. I've got them sitting on my desk because we're constantly looking at them. And I don't know where we could go from there to get that changed, but as it sits right now, residential pays park, school, and road tax. Commercial and industrial only pays a price per square footage for road tax. And if they're doing, say, Pilot's doing an addition, they pay that price per square foot, which I believe is 65 cents per square foot right now on the additional footprint that they are adding to the existing buildings. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess just where I'm confused and I need clarification is, if we have all this industrial and commercial coming into town and it's wearing out our, infrastructure where we then have to make capital improvements on huge projects, all of our city money is, well, we can't help you with the parks because our sewer treatment plant's failing, which our industrial and our commercial businesses are using. I guess I just don't really understand that. And maybe do I not understand how a city operates, or is that just a flaw in the design?
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney. I can add some commentary to that. One of the things that Mr. Rambo has already pointed out is that the solution to that is impact fees. And it was beginning of the year that council really expressed an interest in pursuing impact fees. Part of getting impact fees is you have to have a justification to explain why development is responsible for some of these costs in order to impose impact fees to pay for things. The Parks Master Plan, I think, is step one in making that happen. And so the city is taking steps forward to impose and find solutions for impact fees that are appropriate. And that will kind of fill in that gap where developers will have to have the responsibility to pay those costs that happen to the parks in town. The other thing that I wanted to add to this comment, this whole discussion is that all the departments are currently in the process of working on our budgets that will be presented in May to this council. If there are specific projects that have been presented today that you are interested in seeing happen in that budget, talk to Barry and talk to the mayor to make sure those are included in the budget come May, so that come the 2026, 2027 year, those things are budgeted in so they can be paid for.
I will make one comment. I do know, talking with Barry Williams, Public Works Director, he does have a big number in for for parks. What that number is exactly, I'm not sure. So I'll make comment further. I'll let,
I'm done, and I'm sorry for the diatribe, but I guess I'm just, I'm confused where we have all of these, everything coming in and using resources in the city, but then the kids are the ones that are suffering. So I think I'm definitely interested in looking at a project for our parks. Thank you.
Councilman Mendoza.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you guys for coming. I know what it is to volunteer for an organization and the amount of work that you guys put in there, so that's recognized. I got a few things here. One, do we not have a line item where those taxes for the parks are collected and where we could have a number for what has been collected in the last 5 years?
Robert Carson, City Treasurer. We do have a line item in the budget for those. They are tracked separately because they're legally restricted for parks. And currently this year, we have $150,000 in revenue budgeted, I think to date. Give me just a second.
Okay.
To date, we've collected $66,000 of the $150,000 budgeted. If you want a history of it, I could get it to you after the meeting.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. Another question for you, Mr. Carson. Has the CCRC closeout been finalized, and what was the remaining balance of what was budgeted for that closeout?
Yeah, Robert Carson, City Treasurer, for the record. We still have the final invoice, which most of it is the retention payable that's already been accounted for. So of the $1 million, I believe we'll have about $600,000 left over that was budgeted for that.
No, once, so we are closed out. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, the final invoice has not been paid, so there may be a little, excuse me, there may be some expenses opposed to this year for that, but it should not be a significant amount.
Okay, is that some money that we could use to do the initial repairs that are needed right now?
If it were the desire of the council to do that, we could augment the budget and move those funds over to other areas at your direction.
And that's the 2025, 2026 budget, correct?
Correct.
Copy. Yeah, if we could get something to present to council, I'll put it on the agenda if I need to see once all closeout is complete that we could utilize some of that money for the repairs. In regards to the presentation for the complex, I 100% agree. My wife is extremely excited and wants to help with making sure that Fernley has their own sporting complex. In reality, Fernley, being part of just within the football season, all our home games were played at Golden Eagle. That's an issue. But when we were at Golden Eagle was also over capacity from the way I experienced, with no parking, no field availability. So we need to be looking at an area, when we look at this area, to build a complex that is bigger than Golden Eagle and better. I've had family travel from Southern California to Golden Eagle to play in tournaments, and we would be able to attract a lot of people and a lot of traffic that would, benefit the way that it was presented this evening. So that's my 2 cents on a sporting complex. If we're going to do it, let's do it right, and let's do it big. Another thing that's probably going to be on my priorities list, and I would like the council members to consider this when we do have our priorities meeting as a council, is establishing a new department for Parks and Recs so that we have committed employees to Parks and Recs, specifically only for Parks and Recs, because the staff is getting overwhelmed. We can't put everything on Public Works lap, and we need people that are going to be dedicated to the park and recreations of Fernley. I've seen park and recreation departments start programs that could, help. The Boys and Girls Club does a really good job with supporting our youth, but during the summer, our Parks and Recs departments could help with programs to help feed children and do sporting events within certain parks and things like that. So I want the council to please do me the favor and look into this because it's going to be one of the priorities that I put for our next budget cycle is to establish a new park and recs department so that we can make sure we're tending to the needs of our children. Second, did you guys set us up with all those kids? No.
Oh, I had nothing to do with that one.
All right.
But they did a good job.
They did a really good job.
I got nervous, like.
I will be dreaming of the out of town park tonight. But as you guys heard, I mean, our parks have been neglected, and I think Park and Recreation Department will help with alleviating some of that stress on other departments. That really, they have a lot of things, and just not to justify the lack of attention to any of those things, but our staff are working a lot, and there's a lot of other things. Parks are extremely important. But as you heard, our fire service sucks here. We got to fix our service for the sewer, you know, so there's a lot more that goes into play when we're talking about priorities and budget. Nobody wants to neglect our children, especially myself, who is, you know, raised the son through the league. So thank you guys for being here, and those will be my priorities, and we'll get with finance to see what we could do to get the Band-Aid, because in my opinion, the fields right now, just to get grass and dirt is a Band-Aid. So thank you.
Thank you.
Councilman Torres.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the first thing that we need to do for the upcoming budget year is, as a council and mayor, is definitely push for more staffing for parks. We have a couple of guys, one in particular who is fully dedicated to improving our parks, but he's one guy. Sometimes he's 1.5 guys. So the staffing has to come to improve the parks that we have. We can set aside money during the budgets season that's coming up to improve what we have. Now, I'm 100% behind finding a way to have a sports complex, looking at grants, trying to fund it, private, public entity. But I also want to make sure it's very clear to everybody who is involved in youth sports, not only folks like you, but also the parents, is that's going to come with an increase in fees. What we charge to use our parks is nothing compared to what Sparks in Reno. I have Sparks' fee schedule right here. I mean, they charge extra if you're using the synthetic field than they do with one of the grass fields. So I don't want that to be a surprise.
No, we understand that. We've talked about that, and being part of the whole sagebrush pop Warner, I hear those conversations. I've been to the Sparks, you know, talked with the Sparks president, who's actually the president of Sagebrush. We understand that. I mean, I understand that, and I think he understands that as well. And you know, it's worth it, right? At the end of the day, it's the kids' safety, right?
Yeah, and it's just, you know, having nice fields, you know, for everybody who's using them, as well as being able to maintain them. We will get you to where we should be. But it's a recurring expense that grants aren't going to pay for.
No.
Your taxes don't pay for it. We're capped out already. You know, the state tax structure is a disaster because we have all these counties and municipalities where we're growing. You know, Nevada is growing from one side to the next, and we're not able to keep up with the growth and pay for infrastructure.
Right.
So the fees are going to come down to the users. And of course, you're not going to be expected to pay the whole fee, but it's going to be probably substantial compared to what we're paying right now. And looking at Sparks it's
We
crazy.
only pay $2 per kid on our during our league, and that's been that way for 20 years. So I think that raising, you know, the fees is fine.
Yeah,
It may be
and-
gradual, but fine.
Yeah, and it's not it's just to maintain,
Yeah.
you know, and pay for what we have or fix, you know, as things get worn out.
Right.
I know that there's grants out there, more and more every day, to where we may qualify as a city to build this sports complex with the majority out of grants. But like I said, the first thing that we need to do budget this year is we got to get additional staff for our parks people and set aside, money for what it takes to improve the parks that we have and then go from there.
Mr. Torres.
Yes, sir.
One thing you noted, I think the leagues, as part of this committee, have all agreed the fees for the parks should be raised. Every one of us is saying, yes, let's do this. However, there's also a flaw in our current system. Any parent or any person can currently go rent a park, any one of these fields, and pay $100. Yet they can do whatever they want, however they want, use it in whatever manner they want. And there's no accountability, at least that we've been able to see, with how that field is now left in how it's left, the condition that it's left. So we have parent A rents this field. They have a kickball tournament on it during the middle of a season or in between on a weekend. And now we go back out there and a lot of the hard work that our parents are doing of dragging and again, helping, understanding that we are short-staffed or that Randy and Dalton can only do so much. We understand that and we're there to help. But again, we're renting out our fields to anyone and they have no accountability on how they leave that field, right? They found a field that was dragged, that was watered. There's a process in which we take a lot of pride in. Many of you guys have done the same thing with the fields with your kids. But right now, it's kind of flawed. And that's a problem. We got to identify and how do we fix that? What's the process and who creates that process? Where is the accountability for those? Because I don't think your problem is with the leagues. I think the leagues take a lot of pride in what they do. And I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is everything outside the leagues. So yes, we want our fees to go up. We would like to see if it's not a non-league person, I think should pay more because then there's some true accountability there, right? Are they really going to go into that field and go, uh-oh, I have to pay how much now to rent this field? Or if I don't leave it in that condition, I don't get my deposit back. I don't know what the process is for an individual renting it, but it's cheap and there's no accountability because we've been at those fields the next day or day of going, hey, don't forget, you got to drag, you got to water. But again, it's like Roman said, trying to tell someone to take their dog off one of these parks, it's just not worth it. I don't want to go fisticuffs with someone and then be posted on Chit Chat of how I'm berating a citizen. It's just not worth it. And then as far as the budgeting we're asking for, this is, I know, Mr. Mayor, you talked about Barry's budget. This is not included in his budget already. This is something totally separate. So this is something that we're just asking to additional funds to create the short-term part of it, which is getting our fields back in order.
And I think what we may need to do is look at just reviewing and revisioning our policy on how the parks are rented out. And then it holds people accountable. And then having somebody who is specifically running the park system is able to actually take enforcement on behalf of the city to where, okay, you paid $100, you came out, you didn't do what was required when you agreed and you rented the park space. So either come in or, basically we would, do a civil lien to get that money back for not doing what they're supposed to do, leaving the sprinklers on, driving a motorcycle across. We've all seen whatever is going to happen at the parks, but there's a name and a face to whoever rented it out. So that may help with additional staffing, but also, like I said, just reviewing and revising our policies. And it's not that they're wrong. They just may be out of date. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. Thank you very much for your presentation. There's a lot of emotion in this, and a lot of people think that when you have a problem, it's a negative, but I see this as a positive. I sort of feel in my heart like you guys have created a positive problem, right? You've recruited these kids, you put your heart and soul into this, you've really given it your all. I mean, I can't say enough about what you guys have done. And so through your hard work and through your dedication, we now have this problem in front of us. And now it's our turn to take our steps to remedy this problem. And it sounds like we're all on board. I'm going to talk about a couple things, but one thing that when we were just talking about other people using the fields, my community has a meeting at the senior center every month. and they require a deposit of 400, I think it's 400 or $475. So if we go in there and do something and we leave, they got our $475. And so maybe that's something we need to look at is people that are going to rent it, not just paying the rental fee, but also putting up a deposit in case there's a problem. And that I think would solve. Some of the kids that got up here today, they said stiffer penalties for vandalism. And this is something that I've advocated before in the past. We have to make an example out of people who damage and destroy property that the citizens pay for. And they need to be held accountable, and we need to make it known that this will not be tolerated and there will be stiff consequences. And I think I talked to the sheriff's department about this, and they're great. They do a great job. One of the things that we talked about was people going into the park at night. The park has a curfew when the sun goes down. And I was talking to Chief Deputy Branningham, and he told me one evening there were like 6 occurrences in that out-of-town park where they had to go in there and people were parked in there and doing weird, whatever they were doing. So that's important. I like your plan, but what I don't like is your timeline. And I think we can do a lot better, a lot quicker. I like the idea of a sports complex, but let's be realistic. We have a house, it needs paint, it needs a new roof. Let's not build an Olympic swimming pool in the yard and neglect the rest of the stuff. So I'm 100% on board for sports complex, but I think that's something that we have to plan and look for down the road. What I'm interested in and what I'm concerned with and what I think we should all make a priority, and it sounds like it tonight, is fixing what we have as fast as we can. And it's appreciated to offer labor and time and dedication, but I think there are some resources available that we can look at. Hopefully that becomes a discussion during budget to fast track this stuff. I'd like to see this done in like 2 years. I'd like to see the fields done. I'd like to see some improvements to out-of-town park and get this done much quicker. This government moves at this so slow, it's ridiculous. But I think we have an opportunity to do something great here. I also want to add one other thing. I met this morning, we were talking about our South area plan, and we have a meeting tomorrow night for the public. And part of our conversation with all of these area plans is when we bring in more people, we have to account for new fields, new recreation possibilities for folks. People want to get out and do stuff. So that was our conversation this morning, more fields in these areas that we're developing. I know it's not a fix for what we have now, but at least I think it's comforting to know that we're thinking about this, we're planning for the future so that when we do expand, we have extra square footage for more parks and more fields. And fields was one of the priorities on our conversation today. So I thank you very much for coming tonight. You guys have done a phenomenal job. I want to thank all the kids that got up tonight. It shows the emotion. It helps us to put a human perspective into what the issue is. So I look forward to working with you, and let's get it done.
Thank you.
All right, so I just have a few comments and I'll make them short, but so I think by adding parks and fixing up the other parks is going to help alleviate some of the problem. The problem we have with fixing the parks right now, you said you don't have any time to shut those parks down. They're going to have to be shut down one at a time to work on them, and you're not going to get done in 1 or 2 days. So just be aware of that when council meets and we go over the budget and we look at the budget things that, and then you have to give that, if you put sod down, that sod has to have at least 2 or 3 weeks to get established, because if you don't, there's no sense in spending $600,000 or whatever it is on sod to put down on the field, because you're right back to the same problem. So I understand that. I think this council and myself, staff heard loud and clear about the parks, especially with the kids. Like I said, one of Barry's top priorities are the parks this next year. And we tried to do a little bit of something this year by reseeding and stuff, but as you know, those parks are so heavily used that seed, there was no way it was going to take. So anyways, thank you very much for the presentation. Oh, and the sports complex? Oh, I'm all about that. I will let you know that, how many years ago did Eagle get built? About 20 years ago. And so what you see out there at Eagle Park 20 years ago cost them $30 million. So that kind of gives you a little rough estimate on what a park bigger than that one will cost.
Roman Cisneros. So in the original plan that we did, I can actually send this to you. The facility that I talked about in North Carolina was a $30 million project. I think they said 5 or 6 years ago. But they have what they have is way more than what, I mean, your grand scheme of things. They have a separate football stadium.
Yeah.
And then they have their other parks.
Oh, I'm all for it.
Oh,
Don't get me
yeah.
wrong.
No,
I'm
but
all
I mean,
for it.
No, when I said that, I said that was specifically what I said. I was like, we don't need that big monster stadium. You know, we could use just like a Golden Eagle kind of thing. We don't need a separate stadium. I mean, this stadium is nicer than our high school stadium that they use for youth sports, soccer and everything like that. It's got
Yeah.
the picture that you saw. I mean, we wouldn't need to go that far, but we understand the cost, and I think all the leagues are willing to, increase, because it's justification. We can justify it to our parents. We can justify our increase in cost because we're paying for better fields. It's hard to explain that now, right? When they go out there and they're looking at these fields going, you want me to pay for this? I'm like, well, yeah, because we have nowhere else to practice, kind of thing, right? And
So anyways, I just wanted to tell you that it sounds like everybody sitting up here, including myself, are all about fixing the parks. We heard you loud and clear. I think it was a very great discussion, a good presentation, and now we'll just get to work and make it happen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to line item 7, public hearing, 7.1 for possible action, second reading, public hearing and possible adoption of Bill 370, an ordinance amending the City of Fernley Development Code Title 32, Chapter 9, Section 7 grading, and Chapter 2, Section 30 definitions to add definitions for grubbing, standard grading, and engineered grading to a clarified grading permit threshold, slope limitations, erosion, dust control, inspection, bonding, and enforcement requirements.
Good evening, Madam Clerk, Mayor, and Council. Tristan Rodriguez, Associate Planner for the record. Tonight's item is CA 25004, and it's a proposed amendment to the city's grading regulations, which is before you for second reading and possible adoption. The purpose of this amendment is fairly straightforward. It clarifies when grading permits are required, aligns the city standards with state and NDEP requirements, establishes clear thresholds for larger grading activity, and adds definitions to improve consistency and interpretation of the code. This is not a comprehensive rewrite of the grading ordinance. It's clarification and modernization of existing standards. There are only a limited number of targeted updates to this amendment. First, clearing and grubbing of 1 acre or more now requires a permit. Second, slope thresholds are clarified. Grading on slopes over 10% may be restricted, and grading on slopes of 20% or greater requires an engineered grading plan with geotechnical review. Third, erosion and sediment control is required for disturbances of 1 acre or more. Fourth, a stormwater pollution prevention plan is required for projects disturbing 1 acre or more, consistent with state requirements. Fifth, dust control plans are required for sites disturbing 5 acres or more. And sixth, the ordinance clarifies inspections, bonding, and enforcement procedures for permitted grading activity. And I want to clearly note the existing requirement for grading over 50 cubic yards remains unchanged. That provision has been in the code and it is not new. This slide summarizes the key definitions that were added as part of this amendment. These definitions are intended to clarify how grading activity is categorized and reviewed. They distinguish between standard grading and engineered grading and help ensure the code is applied consistently. These definitions do not create new requirements. They support the thresholds that we just discussed. I want to take a moment to clarify what this ordinance is and is not, because there has been some confusion that has come up. This ordinance applies to large-scale land disturbance. It is based on the area disturbed, not the size of the parcel. It does not apply to routine landscaping, minor grading, or removing a single tree. And it does not change requirements for normal property maintenance. And it does not create any new regulatory programs. It aligns the city's code with existing state and environmental standards. These updates help protect public safety by addressing erosion, drainage, and slope stability. They improve consistency and predictability for applicants and staff, align the city's regulations with state and environmental standards, and help prevent long-term maintenance and enforcement issues by clearly defining when permits are required. This amendment is consistent with the city's master plan and applicable state law, and it supports the city's goals related to public safety, environmental protection, and responsible development, and reflects best practices for land disturbance and drainage management. Go to the next one. A public notice was provided in accordance with state law, and a public meeting is being held today. The Planning Commission reviewed this amendment and recommended approval by unanimous 7-0 votes. Based on staff's analysis and Planning Commission's recommendation, staff recommends approval of Bill 370 as presented, and I'm happy to answer any questions that this body may have.
Does council have any, Councilman Mendoza?
Yes, thank you for bringing this back. One question is there language in there that we could put to exclude rural residential parcels or people that are on an active farm? We have developments that have been approved specifically off Red Rock that backs into 5-acre parcels that people actively grade and turn over and rototill greater than 1 acre. And I don't want this to turn into an interpretation thing 10 years from now, where people start complaining about the people that were there before they got there.
Understood. I'm actually going to defer that question to Michelle.
We handled that, but in the definitions, because they specifically are for the purposes of grading. So it does not apply to agriculture. It doesn't apply to landscaping. It only applies when you're doing it for the purposes of construction.
Yeah, I would argue, if I was going to be on the other side of the fence, that they're grading their plot of land for drainage when they're watering.
That would be considered agriculture and it wouldn't apply.
Okay. As long as we're all clear on that and somebody has something on record they could go back on, so.
That is, sorry, Michelle Rambo for the record, because I forgot to do that. That is why we put in the definition specifically for construction purposes.
Copy.
Because we don't want it to apply to agriculture either.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Hannan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If there's no further questions, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Aaron Morton, City Attorney.
I have
Public
to
comment.
allow,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have to allow
It's getting
public
late.
participation at this time. Do we have any public comment at this time?
I had a question as well.
I just called for public.
Okay.
Yeah, Jan Ringard here in Sage. I'm off of Sage Street. Anyhow, I just got a little bit of this information here just in the last week or so. And I was concerned when I read, let's see here, it says at the meeting November 12th, 2025, Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend and approve this. While at the top, I look here and I see financial impact. No. Funding, account, NA. That doesn't seem to be correct. If you guys are going to be making new code for permit, that means the city group has got to put manpower on to write new codes, documents, and get all that stuff taken care of. And then if they do actually put this through, then the folks that do the inspection, their workload's going to increase. And then if their workload increases and time between, as far as making meeting a deadline for something to be inspected and get a permit reviewed. If that ends up being delayed because of something that's not about what they're doing, then I see that other people could be impacted just as far as prices going up over time and things getting delayed. And what I do see is that building a home, buying a home is going to cost more money because of these additional permits. And I don't think that this is a good thing. I think this needs to be shelved, and every one of you needs to look at this and see what it truly means. Because when I see financial impact no, and everybody else voted yes, I don't believe anybody read it. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you.
First time at a city meeting. My name's Rod Elliott. I'm up there on Sage. The reason I'm here today is basically the same thing that he's kind of concerned about. Sometimes when things come to our attention, it's last minute. And I didn't know about this until last week. So I'm a property owner here in Fernley for almost 7 years. I grew up in Fallon. Fernley's my home. My first job was Pizza Shack when it was in the Moose Lodge. So I've been around a while. It seems to me that when something like this comes up, the city, especially rural areas, need to be a little bit more informed of what's going on. This lady here says that we're not going to be affected since we own an acre and plus of land up there, but chances are we're going to be scanned. I think what needs to happen is we instead of the Reno Gazette, which most of us don't read anymore, we need to have either a sign up there that says, hey, city council is going to affect your land. We need to have a meeting to figure out, is this viable or something? But like I said, I didn't know about this until a couple of days ago. I've read this paperwork that I was given about 7 times, and I don't understand how y'all can kind of think that the average citizen is going to understand this. I mean, it's like muddied water. And it just seems to me, just like him, that it's going to affect the homeowner, even though she said it's not. I was worried about ranches. We got ranches. This is a rural area. So if Farmer Johnson goes over there and scrapes up all of his alfalfa, is he going to be charged? Does he even need a permit for that? That's the questions that I think, us residents really, I mean, I pay more taxes here than I paid in Wingfield Springs and Sparks. So I pay a nice chunk. And so I think that maybe we need to relook at this. I think it needs to be shelved for a while and brought back and kind of in more clear English, just a little bit. That's my opinion. So I'm going to leave it there.
Thank you. Any other public input? Seeing none, we'll go back to council. Councilwoman Zabriskie.
I keep wanting to say Tristan. I've been telling myself all day, Tristan. I'm
Yeah.
trying really hard. So if I mess it up, I'm really sorry.
Totally okay.
Just for clarification, we already have a grading and grubbing code. This is an amendment to definitions within our code. This is not us creating a new code, creating new permits, creating new fees. We're not creating anything new. We're adding clarification into our already existing code so that people can better understand it when they're going to do grading or going to do grubbing, then they understand what our guidelines are.
It is a minor update, and I'm not sure if you all have the staff report with the red line changes. It is truly that minor.
Oh, was the
Mhm.
public given the, I mean, in the agenda packet, was the public also given the redlined version of what was being amended or just?
My understanding is that is all published on the agenda, so they should have been aware, but I may defer that to Madam Clerk.
Okay. I just, I just want to make sure that, that we're really clear and the public is clear that this is not affecting our current uses or changing anything about our code. It's for new construction, and all that they did is add in specifications and amendments so that the code was easier to understand for people coming in, and not changing the fees. They're not, we didn't add a new code. We're not adding new permits. It's clarifying the definition of the code that we already currently have.
Did it not take from 5 acres down to 1 acre?
Excuse me, sir, you're talking out of turn. Thank you.
So the original code had any grading over 50 cubic yards, and that's it. It didn't have 5 acres. It didn't have any acreage. The existing code had only said any grading over 50 cubic yards, and then the city added or clearing and grubbing of 1 acre or more. But originally it was only 50 cubic yards. And we were definitely, as a council, worried about there being issues with all of the farms that we have here in town, or our farmers having to go and get additional permits to clear their own land. And so they have told us now that that's not a part of this code. So we don't need to worry about anybody clearing. I think that if you have more public comment, I think that they want you to come back up to the podium. Or did you want him to ask questions after?
Well, we've already gone through the public comment.
I'm happy to chat with you after the meeting if you want to stick around for a minute so that we can get some clarification.
Yeah, you get.
It just seems that what happens here is you get 3 minutes to voice your opinion.
Sir, if you'd like to, after the meeting, you're more than welcome. We'll stay and discuss it with you after.
So as a citizen, I have to write down my questions for whoever is what I'm asking. This is my first time here.
Yeah.
So I'm learning the system as I move along. You guys have a way more experience than I do.
And
But
Aaron
she made a statement.
Okay,
Sir,
sir, after the meeting, we will be more than happy to answer any questions you have. Councilman Mendoza.
Yeah, I've been reading through it, and the question arose to me because I still don't really see it clear as day that this isn't going to, affect our rural residential members that have ranches and farms. I understand the concern of the two gentlemen that stepped up. I think the fiscal impact that they were concerned about, if I'm not mistaken, is if that financial impact question that says no, I believe that is in reference to being a financial impact to the city, not an actual impact for permits or anything like that. So if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But I believe that's just a financial impact to us. Is this going to cost the city any money? And that is a no. That's not so there's nobody's trying to lie to the community and say this is not going to be a financial impact. And then we charge you guys for permits. You guys are going to get charged for permits. It's not a financial impact to the city right now if we change this code. It's not a budgetary item. So it's not budgeted. And there's no account for it. So hopefully that clarifies that for you. I'm a little confused about what a public hearing is, and if we're able to open up for public comment and have a discussion, because we shouldn't do a, why are we going to ask these people for questions afterwards if we vote on something?
So here's the thing, Councilman Mendoza, I did open it up for public comment and they did both get up and speak.
No, I understand, but we also had more questions that were asked by another council member that generates conversation.
And that's how the process goes, is you open it up for council. You have the presentation, it's opened up to council to talk about it. Then it's opened up to public comment. And then after public comment, if there's any other discussion, it comes back to council. And then it goes to a vote or.
And we're not able to open it back up just to have a dialogue.
Aaron Morrison, City Attorney, the mayor, you can open it back up if you so choose to open it back up to public comment. That is in your discretion. I would add as well, Councilman Mendoza, if you have a concern in regards to agricultural, you could recommend a minor amendment to add in, for example, subsection H. And you could say something along the lines of, this section is not meant to apply to agricultural non-construction uses. And I think that'd be a minor enough change that you could make the amendment today and not have to bring this back again for another vote.
Yeah, that would make me feel better, to clarify that. I was more leaning towards rural residential, but we will have more development in rural residential areas that are going to be required to have permits. So I don't want to pigeonhole us into that. But whatever words he said, can somebody write that down and add it to their thing? Sounds like Councilman Hannon has.
You're talking about adding it to the.
Correct, adding that additional language to protect our agricultural community.
Yeah.
I'm prepared to make a motion if we're ready.
You know, seems how these gentlemen are here. I don't mind opening it up, back up for public comment, but I want to keep in mind that, so this is your first time being at a council meeting. You've been here for 7 years. I'm glad that you're finally coming. But public comment is limited to 3 minutes. And so you did your 3 minutes, sir, but you know what? If you want to ask another question, come on up. I will allow it.
Thank you for that opportunity. I appreciate it, Mayor. Felicity, I was going to ask you, you were conversing with me. You asked me a question about something. And when you're trying to convey something and the mayor says, well, you can come and talk to us after the meeting, you forget the question. Do you happen to remember what you asked me before I was out of my time?
I wish I remembered.
See,
maybe it'll come back to me.
See, that's what I'm
between now and
saying.
the end.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes we need a little bit of discourse, a little bit of conversation, because you forgot and I forgot. But to me, at that particular moment when you asked me when I had 0.04 seconds left, it was important of what you said. And I think it had something to do with the amount of size of real estate that we could mess with, play with, cultivate, anything that is up, and especially around Sage. I was more worried about what this bill for the city of Fernley is going to impact most. Is it going to impact us housing owners that have an acre point or, 1.1 acres? Is it going to affect us? Are we going to have a permit every time we want to cut down a tree? Because I got 2 that need to go. And we also have a problem up there with the watershed coming down off that mountain, and it's washing us away. Well, just 2 weeks ago, I run a scraper clear across my yard. Am I going to be fined for that? Of course. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes a little bit of extra conversing would probably go a long ways in this committee, because it's being just shut down is not right. That's the reason I was going to ask you about that. I do think there's a few more things that need to be thought about, especially around Sage, other than land being torn up and yada, yada. We need a second way to get in there. Felicity, the reason I'm talking to you is because you seem like a little bit more open. So we need a second way to get out of there. And the reason is that when that place floods, you can't get out of there, and ambulances ain't going to get up there. So there's a couple things that need to be worked around Sage, and I don't think they really did decode. Another thing is You guys seem to be concerned about permits, building permits, things like that. So am I, absolutely. I have a neighbor who is just adding and adding and adding, and nobody's doing anything about it. And it looks
Can I
like
ask
junk.
excuse me, sir, point of order? I
Yeah.
think we need to stick to the subject.
That's fine. I just,
So
Yeah,
if we open it
you're
up.
way off subject.
Yeah. so as
absolutely.
long as we stay
I
on
totally get
subject.
it. Like I said, I'm nervous. There's a lot of things that I really wanted to get out. And in 3 minutes time, it's really tough. So I appreciate the extra time. Appreciate it, Mayor, very
And
much.
sir, you could still stay after and we'll try.
No,
to
no,
answer
that's
any
fine.
questions.
That's fine. I appreciate the second chance
Yeah.
to talk to you about this because it just seems like it's a major concern for all the people who live up around Sage because we all run our scrapers. We got tractors. We
Okay,
got,
so now your 3 minutes is up.
I'm good to go.
And we have open door policy. Come in and talk to us tomorrow. It's fine.
Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, looking for a motion. Councilman Hannon.
I'm gonna do it my own way and see if it works. Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion. Let me
Go ahead,
just
Councilman
let me
Hannon.
Just switch screens. So I move to approve Bill 370 CA 25004 as presented by staff with the clear understanding that this is not relative to agriculture.
Second that motion.
Does that motion fit what you're looking for there, Councilman Mendoza?
I believe the way it was presented from, bless you, from council was to add it as a subsection
Was it section H? Is that what you said?
H.
Eight,
That's what I thought. but
H or
I
eight?
Are we adding a
Correct.
section?
And,
'Cause I
Aaron don't Morse, see the that. city attorney, and that's what I want to clarify. As presented, the motion is just to pass it as is, but with the legislative understanding that this is not meant to apply to agricultural. If you intend to, you can ask for this to be presented, this bill with an added section for section H that would state that this is not to apply to agricultural uses that are non-construction.
Okay, I'll amend my motion. My motion is to approve Bill 370 CA 25004 as presented by staff with the addition of section H, which does not apply to agriculture. The heck else did you say?
Agricultural non-construction purposes.
Non-construction purposes. Thank you.
I second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Hannon, seconded by Councilman Lau. And do we have further discussion, Councilman Mendoza?
Oh, no, my light's on though.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay, your thing was on. I'm looking. All right, please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Councilwoman Zaberski, did you have a?
I did. It's a really fast question. Does grubbing and grading, what would you consider them clearing all of the canal bottom out and setting it on the side? Would that be considered grubbing?
Aaron Mortson, city attorney, that would not be considered grubbing. Grubbing is the removal of disposal, et cetera, for the purpose in preparation for grading, excavation, or construction. So only if they plan on doing grading, excavation, or construction would apply, but since they're only doing a cleaning, it would not trigger the grubbing section.
Does TCID pay the city of Fernley a permit fee to be able to remove or maintain the canal in the parts that it's lined? Because all of the neighborhood that I am in.
I think we're off topic here, aren't we?
Well, I had a question after the agenda item. We're not on a specific agenda item.
I would defer to the building official, but my guess would be no.
Felicity, I apologize. Charity Burkle for the record. Can you repeat that?
I just asked if TCID pays the city of Fernley a permit fee to be able to clean out the areas of the canal that are already paved and set all of that debris on the side.
No, they sure don't.
So I'll talk to you later about that, but I am just confused. Our neighborhood is eating all of that dust that comes out of the bottom of the pond, what John Reichland was talking about last time he was here. So hopefully we can.
And Aaron Morrison, city of Fernley, I think we are probably getting out of topic at this point.
I'm done.
Yeah, we're gonna move on.
I'm done, I promise.
Okay. Moving on to line item 7.2 for possible action, second reading, public hearing, possible adoption of Bill 371, ordinance associated with CA 25005, a code amendment initiated by the city Fernley to amend Title 32, Chapter 6, Section 150-2 use table for the development code to allow the use of recreational facility major in the I industrial zoning district, subject to approval of conditional use permit.
Good evening, Council. Tristan Rodriguez, Associate Planner for the record. This item is CA 25005, and it's a proposed amendment to the Development Code to allow the use of recreational facility major within the industrial zoning district, subject to approval through a conditional use permit. And this item is before you for second reading and possible adoption. The purpose of this amendment is to update the development code to allow recreational facility major uses within the industrial zoning district, subject to review through a conditional use permit. The amendment addresses an existing discrepancy in the code and establishes a clear formal process for evaluating these types of uses. I want to emphasize up front that this amendment does not approve any specific project. It simply establishes a process for future review. The Development Code defines a recreational facility major use as a large, generally outdoor recreational use. This includes facilities such as racetracks, sports stadiums, amusement or theme parks, shooting or archery ranges, golf courses, campgrounds, and the like. Under this definition, a racetrack is clearly categorized as a recreational facility major use. A longstanding racetrack currently operates within an industrial zoning district. However, the current development code does not list recreational facility major as a permitted or conditional use in the industrial district. As a result, the facility has no formal land use entitlement under the existing code. Because the use is not listed, the property cannot pursue permits, improvements, or expansion through the city's normal entitlement process. This amendment is intended to correct that gap by creating a clear and appropriate approval pathway. The industrial zoning district is designed to accommodate higher intensity uses that may involve noise, traffic, or operational impacts. These areas typically have larger parcel sizes, fewer residential conflicts, and better access to major transportation corridors. Allowing a recreational facility major use within the industrial district aligns with the intent of the city's comprehensive master plan, while ensuring the uses are reviewed through a formal process. The conditional use permit requirement ensures that each proposal is reviewed on a case-by-case basis. Through a CUP process, the city can evaluate potential impacts related to noise, lighting, dust, traffic, access, parking, and hours of operation. It also allows the city to impose reasonable conditions of approval to ensure compatibility with surrounding uses and long-term development goals. This approach provides flexibility while still protecting the community and future development in the area. This amendment is consistent with the city's comprehensive master plan and applicable state law. It supports policies related to compatible land use, efficient service delivery, and economic diversification. This amendment also supports the city's goal of encouraging appropriate development while ensuring potential impacts have been properly reviewed and mitigated. And on the screen are a handful of goals and policies that this amendment does support. Continue. Public notice has been provided in accordance with the Development Code and NRS. A public hearing is being held tonight. The Planning Commission reviewed this proposed amendment, and they recommended approval at a unanimous vote of 7-0. Based off staff's analysis, consistency with the comprehensive master plan and the Planning Commission's recommendation, staff recommends approval of Bill 371 as presented. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Councilwoman Zaberski?
If this does get approved tonight, is the racetrack going to be surprised with you need a permit charge like tomorrow? Like, are they gonna have to come down? I mean, they've already been actively using the racetrack for X amount of time. So is the city gonna say, okay, well, now we approve this and now you need a permit? I'm just curious how that's going to
Michelle
work
Rambo,
out.
Planning Director for the record, the racetrack is aware of this code change. This came about because they came to us wanting to expand and a couple other minor things. And through that process, we discovered they don't have any permits that we could find on record. So they have been working with us kind of in conjunction with this code. So they know about it and they're prepared to go through the CUP process.
Thank you.
Any other discussion by council? All right, seeing none, I'll open it up for public comment.
Kind of have a question because I've been to the racetrack. I know that they've done stuff. I believe everything was done through the county, and there are permits through the county because they had to get water. They had to update their bathrooms, all that, but it was through the county. So there are permits.
Michelle Rambo, Planning Director for the record. We had conversations with them trying to find out if there were previous permits, and they don't have records of anything. So, and Lyon County does not have any record of their permits either.
Yeah, I believe that is now owned by the city of Fernley.
It is.
So
Well, next
that's
door.
the city of
Sorry.
Fernley's property now.
Right, but at that time, it was the county, and it was
BLM.
Dan Simpson was, the permits would be under Dan Simpson's company.
Yeah, it was BLM land before we obtained it through our lands bill.
That's partially correct. The current existing one is on private property owned by somebody wanting to. Anyway, it's a whole story there. It's private property, but they wanted to expand onto the BLM property is how we got involved. But like I said, we've asked Lyon County to pull their records. We've asked the racetrack to provide us any records that they have. And so far we have come up with nothing.
Okay, is there any other public input? If not, I will turn the time back over to council. Councilman Lau.
I'd like to make a motion. I move to approve Bill 371 CA 25005 as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Lau, seconded by Councilman Hannan. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. All right, line item 8. 8.1, discussion possible action regarding canceling July 1, 2026 city council meeting due to City of Fernley 25th anniversary. This was presented by Councilman Hannan. So Councilman Hannan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this up last year. The council, we discussed bringing it back in the beginning of the year. The last meeting was tabled because the meeting was running late, and this is in regards to the 25th anniversary events that will be hosted in Fernley that are a all hands event. So city staff would be involved in all of the entertainment Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it was discussed that it would be a good idea to cancel this meeting or reschedule it. So my motion tonight, unless there's any discussion, would be to cancel the July 1st, 2026 meeting for the so staff could attend the 25th anniversary event.
So we have a motion by Councilman Hannan, seconded by Councilman Lau. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. And motion carries 5-0. So we'll now move on to line item 9 is portion meeting devoted to the public. If you wish to comment, you can do so in person at the meeting. You raise your hand feature in Zoom. Star 9 if you're participating via phone. Is there a public comment limited to 3 minutes? Is there any public input at this time?
Tammy Dittman for the record. I've created a monster and wanting to speak. Lydia, thank you. Thank you for calling that building the CRRC building. And that's what I would like to see some clarification when there's advertising from the city of Fernley. On some things it shows Boys and Girls Club, others it shows the CRRC. It would be nice to have it called the CRRC, used by the Boys and Girls Club, but it is the CRRC building.
We can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question I have is there information on what is allowed and or disallowed for someone who is a representative of the city of Fernley, like the employees, planning directors, council, of what can and cannot be posted on social media? So if somebody could provide that, because there's things that have been posted, and I believe it's to stir up decisions. And sometimes what is posted could end up in a lawsuit because they're trying to steer something one way or another outside of a meeting. And that was mentioned to me by someone that mentioned lawsuits. And then the one is something that was mentioned a couple of years ago, and I don't know if anything was ever resolved. It was on the OHV guidelines, regulations, the sheriff's department, the city was working on it, and then it just disappeared. And it was OHV on the roads. And that's a lot of stuff with the council. It just disappears. And I just come up with the stuff. And then the fourth question is the very probably angst-given one. How is the ethics complaint going? That's been 8 months now that we'd all like to know about. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor. I just have a public comment in regards to her question, if that's okay.
If it has to do with
It has to do with OHV.
Aaron Morton, City Attorney. It's Mr. Mayor, it's your meeting, so you can decide if you want to allow council to speak at this time or if you don't want to allow conversation.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We spent a considerable amount of time with Ms. Jensen going over the OHV laws. We also had a presentation by the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Patrol, State Police, and we were not able to make the 2 mile exception work because you have to have a state designated park or a location, and we don't have one in the city of Fernley. We also looked at trying to create that 2 mile rule, and there were too many state highways that intersected where we wanted to go. So for the time being, we tabled that matter until we could bring it back. Our hope is that when we create the North Area Plan, that we have a regional park, that when we create the Southwest Area Plan, we have a regional park, and the South Area Plan, we have regional parks so that we can apply with that law. It's also a 35 mile an hour and less speed limit restriction, and we were not able to make that work for a lot of Fernley. So we decided not to move forward with that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your feedback on that, Councilman Hannon. Our next meeting will be February 4th at 5 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.